Hey, folks, we are back. We are in a holding pattern for a second. The players are just getting their stuff set up. We're going to give you a look at that once they're kind of settled in. What you should know is that some of what they're using is going to be proxies, so there's going to be some, black and white that they're seeing. Uh, we're going to do our best to bring it to you. As you can see, we have two players. Neither of them are from the U.S. They've come a long ways to play. Who we got today?
Today we have Diego from Chile.
I could give you a little more in.
We've got Diego from Chile. He will be playing Gorechosen with Dromm, and facing him is going to be Pawel from Poland. Spiteclaw. Spiteclaw Swarm, one of those warbands that has been announced and shown to the world beforehand, so we know a little bit about how they work. This will be our first live stream of a Gorechosen player, so exactly what the Chile table. They are currently setting up and getting their Proxy cards appropriately sleeved. We are making things happen. So we will cut to that table when we are ready to go live. We're going to do our best to keep track of live score and announce to you what happens. But seeing as this is our first example of this, things may get a little dicey. We'll do our best to communicate to you. We understand as we're going live. We cannot hear the players' voices. They cannot hear ours. So a lot of what's going to happen is going to be interpretation of what we see on the stream. So you're seeing what we see.
Yep. Just for people to know, there's about a 10-second delay between what we're saying and when you're seeing it. So there's anything you ask us, it'll be a second before we see it. We're going to keep an eye on the chat, and we appreciate all the help. If there's any tweaks, we'll see what we can do to make them happen, but no promises. In the meantime, I think the board's starting to look about set up. They have a few more things to do. Let's give you a quick look at that. Yeah, Jonathan, we try to keep our wordplay and banter as witty as possible. You see Pawel on your left is running Spiteclaw. Bold choice, only one in the tournament, right?
Yeah, the only Spiteclaw that we see, many of, but not all, but many of the players are using the Grand Alliance things that you haven't seen yet. So we'll get a chance to kind of get the first look at those over the next few days before the actual embargo date Saturday. So this is super sweet green. But we're Spiteclaw Swarm, for those who aren't aware. They have 5 fighters. Scritch, Spiteclaw, the leader. He's a schemer, which is one. As well as Kirk, who is his second. They are both schemers. If they manage to manufacture supports with any of their minions, like the 3 remaining fighters, then they get crit Grievous on those attacks. So look for ways to get pushes and to allow the 2 schemers with their spears to get some supports and attacks to the Additionally, Spiteclaw is the leader. If he dies while Kirk is still alive, then Kirk becomes the leader. Whoever is the leader at the time has the opportunity to resurrect the slain fighter. So in this second edition of Penregard, Underworlds, resurrected fighter comes back with none of their upgrades, and it's worth 0 bounty for that. So we'll see just how well he's able to leverage that, if Pawel has any extra tricks in his sleeve. We may see some resurrection. Spiteclaw is unique in that he can resurrect fighters to any starting hex on the board. It does not have to be his territory. So if you see the Gorechosen overcommit to one side of the board, he may find that he has split his attention into 2 halves.
Sarah, we see your comment there. We'll see what we can do about that. Our players are just getting their initial setup taken care of still here. Diego just finishing shuffling up his cards. We're going to have some deck pairings for you as they come along. As you can see, some of what we're working for is photocopies and printouts.
Another valuable thing to talk about, I just chat now, that Spiteclaw Swarm, when it was originally previewed on the digital copy, did not have the rune marks on any of the fighters. That has been given an FAQ for this event, which I don't think is public, but the 3 who are not schemers are labeled as minions for purposes of this event, presumably for regular. So the Hungering Skaven, Lurking Skaven, and Festering Skaven all being minions, and will be resurrected with that, as well as triggering the schemers.
Maybe we got an angle here.
All right, we are still attempting to work on some of my volume control issues. I will try and speak up for this, but there may be some technical thing we can do with as we go forward. It is unfortunate that I also have somewhat of a weak voice, so you might hear me burn out by the end of the day if I'm yelling all the time. But if that's what it takes, then that's what it'll do.
Looks like we're getting a little closer to ready. One thing to bear in mind when we're here at Worlds is folks coming from all over the place. English is the language people are generally using to try to communicate. So there's always a language barrier as a possibility to sort through. These guys are going to kick things off with a roll off when they're ready. For those who are not used to second edition, that's going to be a single die. So once you see those first pair of dice drop into the tray, we know we're off and running.
So we did get a question about the FAQ and errata. While we wait for our players to set up, I will look through, see if there's anything particularly interesting. One of the biggest changes is there was a question on Serenized Razors. The hammer tide ability, that straight line, has been clarified to be the way it used to work, where you go in a hex direction. Now it's just a straight line to any fighter on the board. In the Grimwatch, the In the Name of the King ability is now once per battle round in a power step. Your leader can use one of the following abilities instead of playing a power card. So it is in the place of the power card. Step. Though I suppose you guys haven't seen that yet, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you. The Skinnerkin are probably one of the biggest ones from the 13 that have been shown. Previously, it said their abilities Precise Fillet, More for the Pantry, and Calloused Hands were all usable once per turn. That has now been clarified to be once per battle round, so 3 times.
Jonathan, I see the question about dice colors. Once the dice start coming out, we'll clarify that as we see them drop in the tray. We have some sense. So the question is how Diego could possibly be playing Gorechosen of Dromm if the cards are not out, which I assume to mean not yet released. They have just behind the players here a big old stack of Grand Alliance Warband boxes, and so some of these players literally moments before this game were opening up the boxes and pulling out their war scrolls. So what you can't see is just off camera, Diego has an open box, plastic screws piled up, where he had frantically dug through to get his cards. And that is correct. those folks who qualified for Worlds were given a preview to allow them to prepare.
So I think it was a couple of weeks lead time for each of the players to decide what they wanted to take. They did have advanced, I think, just PDF files of the 16 Grand Alliance warbands, as well as the 2 new Rivals decks, Reckless Fury and Rack and Ruin. So we will see some of those, which the general public has not seen. So today will be the first day we get to get a look at some of those things. But the players in this competition did have access to that information, though not the physical products are here.
Yeah, it's correct. Critical focus. The standard being applied for this tournament and quite likely going forward is that you'll reveal your warband and which 2 decks you're using, whether or not there is a plot card. Want to do a special shout out. I know Critical Focus channel does great video content. I think Eba's Underworlds is in there in the chat and has been producing content. We haven't had the chance to shout him out on the podcast yet in our community shout outs, but Eba's, if you want to go ahead and throw a link to your channel in there, just so people see it, we'll make sure it gets in at a later date on the audio. So some of these players were having to sleeve up proxies immediately before. There were some printed out by the tournament staff, and that's a little bit of our holdup here is the last bit of proxy placements in the sleeves and shuffling from Diego. Critical Focus channel, just like you, one of the casualties to the second edition in names that no longer technically apply.
It's true, yeah. The concept of spent glory and the entirety of magic dice are gone now, so we'll have to do our best to keep it alive since the rulebook no longer mentions us.
You're with us in spirit. And actually physically, so here we go.
Looks like we're not streaming more than 1 table at a time, but I'm seeing the other 20-some tables are all in a similar state of putting paper into proxy sleeves. So we're all going to be starting at about the same time.
Great point, Critical Focus. Your name holds. Just might have to change your graphics, I suppose.
For those not reading the chat, Critical Focus channel now can be the channel where you have criticals, which still exist on all the dice, and focus is now an action the player can take. So, in fact, they do still persist in this new edition as well. And I mean, you can still pretend you spent your. That's what I'm doing.
Curtis, you can expect to see a fair amount of Gorechosen this weekend. It is up to our discretion what we choose to stream. So we are going to try and get you a variety of warbands and opponents. The players right now are getting ready for that initial roll-off, I believe, or discussing exactly how that's going to go down. We're going to mute for just a second, see if I can make a tweak to the audio, see if anything helps out. Folks, it's going to be a challenge because we're in a very loud environment and trying to balance, not getting too much of that ambient sound while still getting us loud enough to hear. So bear with us. We're going to do our best and hopefully have some action for you here shortly. Interlaced is a adjective. I'm not sure how to apply it to cameras, but we're fairly locked in with what we got. I appreciate the background, Curtis. Chopin, we don't have the capability to pop images up, but we will be describing them as we go, talking some of the stats and such as we get. Pawel offering Diego a cut, which tells me we are imminently going to start. Flavio, it's like a good saddle or baseball glove. You really got to break it in.
It's true. Yeah. You don't want to be playing at the World Championships with stiff card backs.
Yeah.
And inflexible sleeves. It's the way the professionals do. Yeah, Pawel had the advantage of his stuff did not come from a Grand Alliance box, and so he already had everything ready to go. It looks like Diego is holding things out, but actually it's not his fault. So anyway, we're nearly ready to go live, and from here on out, we shouldn't have any problems with players having to deal with that problem because we will be everyone will have already done that.
We're getting Diego's fighter cards into the visible area. Curtis mentions being interested in seeing the charge manipulation deck, how it works. That is a real interesting one. We're going to see a lot of it. Pairs particularly well into elite aggro. So we're talking 3 or 4 fighters and the ability to shuffle charges around or take advantage of a charged out status. Some courteous cuts. It's actually taken me a little while to remember that the very first thing we do is, well, you reveal warbands, but before you even roll off and pick boards, you shuffle your deck and take your mulligan. Mulligans are now, they're blind. So
your opponent does not see the cards when they are discarded. So you can draw a hand, decide you don't want it, put it away, and your opponent will never have that information. For the purposes of this event, we do have to tell your opponent which Rivals decks you are using, but you don't reveal the deck list itself, which means that there will be some degree of secrecy, at least at the beginning of the game, as we go through.
Looks like Pawel's going to keep his opening hand. In future, we're going to work on seeing if we can get a look at what the pairings are before the players sit down. Our main goal here is not to interfere with their world's experience as much as possible. We got a handshake, and I think we're about off.
Let's jump over to the dice tray. All right, so Diego's rolled a sword. Pawel has rolled a hammer. In this new set, swords beat hammers. So Diego has won the roll-off and can make a decision of which board side he would like, and which side would be his territory.
The main decision on board sides, they got a couple considerations, I guess. There is how the starting hexes are oriented, whether the blocked hexes are present or not, and how aggressive you want to be. So it looks like we've got the the people call these like fives and nines
Yeah.
by how many hexes are in neutral territory. In this case, they're oriented on fives, which is means there's only 5 hexes in neutral. It's worth noting, especially because there's some decks that want all treasure in neutral held, or want a fighter in neutral, or multiple fighters in a single spot.
So we can see Pawel has placed the first territory token, which must go in neutral territory. He's placed it on the far side, possibly to leave himself more space to give a second in that neutral territory, which might give us a hint about what he is going to do with his deck, where he wants those tokens to be. So for the placement of placing treasure, each player's territory must have at least one. They cannot be within 2 hexes of each other. The first one must go in neutral territory. And then after that last one is placed, the player who placed the final treasure token places their first fighter.
On to our last treasure token. Since there is one in everyone's territory at this point, it's generally open.
Yeah. Anywhere that fits that restriction of within 2 hexes.
Yep.
The way that they were placed did zone out that other neutral territory spot. So if that was something that Pawel was going for, he was unable to complete.
The last player to place a treasure token is the first player to place a fighter. And that means Pawel will be playing his first fighter.
So he's placed the Hungering Skaven back there next to treasure token 1.
Hungering Skaven, one of the 3 minions that can be brought back to life. Here's Dromm, a very beautiful Dromm, actually. Dromm significant for having a range 2 attack right out of the gate. Very helpful.
So now we have 2 of those minions placed adjacent to one another, which can be important for one of the Spiteclaw Swarm's War Scroll abilities to allow them to switch places. And if he's taken the card Confusion in his deck, he may be able to inspire them with that as well.
Yeah, I'm curious whether that'll show up in there. I don't know if the 2 minions that we're seeing right there gain so much that I would go for that.
Particularly.
Yeah.
They lose their inspiration upon death, so ideally, Scritch and Kirk will likely go in the other 2 adjacent, though Gorechosen or Hulk has put himself in a great position to deal with that.
Yeah.
So now Pawel has a difficult choice to make. Does he give himself that advantage, or does he keep his best fighters safe?
Yeah, I think Pawel's thinking real hard about keeping that space at the bottom of the screen open for Spiteclaw. Certainly, I'd be thinking about that to get some separation from Gorechosen.
Right, it looks like he has opted to not place them adjacent. I wonder if Kirk is considered a bait in this situation.
Spiteclaw's got to get Kirk out of the picture before any unseemly demises.
I guess it's worth noting that even if he had placed Kirk in the other bottom side board hex, he would still be within charge range of the board. So they're now rolling off to see who takes the first turn. And it looks like the winner was Pawel on that roll, so he can decide who goes first.
As the loser that roll off, Diego will get to draw an extra power card, regardless of what Pawel selects. One thing to note for those familiar with the format from last year, Worlds was required to, all the Underworlds players were required to go to the full 3 rounds. Best of 3, but you had to play them all out. They've managed to format it so that if somebody gets up 2-0, that third game is not played.
I believe time permitting, they can play that third even in that situation because for the purposes of national ranking, you do take your 2 highest glory scores. So if one game you lost by a dramatic amount, you don't want to play a third. Interestingly, it looks like Pawel has chosen to stagger himself as he moves on to treasure token 2 across the board. He's used one of his worst roll abilities, I believe, to give himself a push as the adjacent fighter. Since you can choose one fighter adjacent to another, push them 1 hex. Seems that is what he's chosen to do to allow him his 5 moves to make it onto that treasure token. He chose to stagger himself, so I'm wondering if there is a stagger-related card he may be attempting to score his hand.
I know we have an objective for being staggered, holding a treasure in enemy territory. We're going to look that one up.
So his charge has led to 1 critical success, and they have tied on successes because criticals now do not overrule single successes.
Honestly, I think that's a pretty good outcome for Pawel. Chipping 1 damage in.
So he has now played, that card is called Wary Delver, which places a guard token on a fighter on a future turn. So in this edition of the game, stagger and guard do not cancel one another, which means that this fighter is now both staggered and on guard. And it's worth noting that the Lurking Skaven has 2 dodge innately, even before being inspired. So now he has 2 defense on guard, which will make him somewhat of a difficult target to shift. Despite being staggered, it's possible that Pawel has set himself up relatively well to hold that and score the card.
The Gorechosen do have a push. It's an ability on their War Scroll, Call of Blood. It pushes 2 fighters towards each other. However, both those fighters have to have no move or charge tokens.
Which means that the Lurking Skaven is also immune to that problem. Interestingly, it looks like the Warhulk is going to be charging and twisting the knife and doing his throttle reaction. More accurate attack that will still have Grievous because of the card. So he could, in 1 attack, perhaps they're talking about which target it was now. With the card he's revealed, he has the opportunity to finish off either fighter. So he's chosen to go for the Festering Skaven.
Looks like a determined effort here.
Determined effort, my apologies. Extra dice.
You have 1 success. Defensively, 1 dodge. So a dodge or a crit will do it, but that's not it.
So that looks like the end of Festering Skaven's night for now. He can come back if he chooses to use that resurrect ability, but the Gorechosen have slain a fighter. They have gotten themselves some Blood Tithe tokens, and are probably off to the races. We'll see if that's scored him any cards.
For those who are wondering, that Blood Tithe is earned 1 point every time a fighter is damaged, and as much Blood Tithe as any killed fighters have, enemy killed fighters have for bounty. We have 2 surge objectives getting scored here. So both players on the board, 2-1. They're going to draw a replacement, but that is not scoreable in the same turn. Crucially, and I think we're going to see a lot of it this weekend, Gorehulk now is holding on to enough Blood Tithe. Enough Blood Tithe to be able to trigger his Enrage.
Wrong fight. Things are mirrored on our setup, so I gave score to the wrong player. As far as I can tell on that table, it is still currently 1-0. I know who scored what.
They got a 2-1 out there. Both players have scored a single surge, and there is a bounty.
Yep, it's bad. Diego.
Now we got him correct.
Yeah, it is a challenge for us because in the physical world, Diego is on our left, but in this camera, he is on the right. So he may make some mistakes like that.
I think that's impossibly quick going out on Kirk. I believe is one extra save.
So that card allows for an additional save. The first time that a failed attack targets that fighter, then that card is discarded. So it only lasts for one successful defense, but it still is a pretty potent deterrent. It puts him on 2 shields right now.
Diego having to think now if he wants to burn that blood tithe early for an extra charge from Enrage.
Knowing that his best target is probably Kirk, who has just given himself an additional defense. It's kind of a high risk, high reward scenario. He has the blood tithe to spend if he wanted to. So he's chosen not to. So a move onto another treasure token.
This is a potentially strong move. A number of the cards in the Reckless Fury deck want everyone in a particular territory to be having charge tokens. So by Pawel moving fighters instead of charging with them, he can mess with those 2 glory end phases.
And now we have the card by the numbers, which means you draw a number of power cards equal to the number of objectives held by your warband. So immediately, Pawel has just gained 2 more power cards to play with. And depending on what he draws, could shift how the rest of this round works. It seems like there are a significant number of Chilean people in the chat. Welcome, thank you. Diego has quite the fan base today. So based on what we can see so far, it appears that we have Spiteclaw Swarm is playing with at least the Pillage and Plunder deck. And so they are likely going to attempt to delve some things, hold some things in multiple territories. And we know that Gorechosen of Dromm appear to be playing with Blazing Assault and the unreleased Reckless Fury. They'll be doing a lot of dice rolling and a lot of attacks. So there is 1 success on Dromm's range 2. Not actually sure. Looks like he's targeting the Hunter Skaven. He's on 1 shield. And that is not a shame. Doing only 1 damage at range. Dromm's range 2 attack now doing only 1 damage without any marks on it. So a single damage. He does gain a blood tithe. And he will push that fighter a stagger hex, meaning it'll be much easier to finish off later.
And that is an attack that goes up dramatically when he's inspired. His profile becomes a range 2, 3 hammered, 2 damage with Grievous, I believe. He's found himself in a great spot. He was forced to drive the Hungering Skaven off, but if he gets himself to a charged out state, he's going to be able to continue to make attacks from that spot.
So the challenge for Diego is going to be, is he able to inspire his fighters? He has to take damage or deal damage, and so far Pawel has only attacked him once and did not deal damage on that attack, so he's having to do most of that work himself. If he wants to spend blood tithe for his abilities, he'll be further from his inspiration, and the Gorechosen gain dramatically from being inspired.
And we believe that if Pawel can find a way to get his slain Skaven back in play, he's giving up even less if that Skaven dies, because now worth 0 bounty. However, with the hold, certainly with Supremacy, he's looking to possibly have 3 bounty worth of fighters standing on objectives for the end phase, which he currently has. And they're both quite defensible.
Yes, so there's the chance that he has supremacy, which means he would be paying Everstone Sentinels with him as well, which is a relatively strong combination for hold strategies. So if he can manage to keep those two fighters on these. He's also holding one in enemy and one in neutral, which there's a card for that as well. Even the Legend Fire deck. Looks like Herax is going to attempt to deal with Kirk.
Still just the one.
Success. And one success as well. So he will be able to drive him back, but with only a move token, we could see Kirk moved back onto that as a official.
Interestingly, Pawel won the roll-off and elected to go first.
Generally, for hold strategies, the hold player would like to be the one with the last word.
Yeah, have that last chance to get on something.
He may have wanted a chance to play cards before he got double Corporal charged.
If you missed it at the start of stream, you may be noticing this kind of peek at some of the cards that we're seeing are in black and white in order to accommodate the releases that are actually not officially going out for pre-order until this Saturday. There's some proxy use that has been commissioned or authorized by GW. Chile turning out in bulk.
And so as expected, Kirk has moved back onto the token. And that is going to allow him to keep himself on that. Seeing as all three fighters are charged out, I do believe Herax has a range 2. So there is a chance for him to drive him back one more time. Should that fail, then we will see that there's an opportunity to score supremacy for 3, which is a pretty potent score in a game that currently is only one glory apart.
Yeah, this is more strong positioning from Diego. Putting Herax there meant that he could attack the treasure token 4, but it meant that Kirk couldn't just run past him into enemy territory and sit on treasure token 5 because he would still be available to be struck. Also, he's lost
the possibility he wants one in neutral territory because
That's
there is
true.
a card in Pillage of Plunder where you hold one in neutral and one in enemy, which he has set up currently.
Gorechosen picked up an upgrade. Missed what it was.
I didn't see, unfortunately, the black and white cards aren't really helping us here. But he has something on him, and we'll assume that it means something important. I did get a little brief glimpse at the hands here, and it ends up that Pawel has in his hand sidestep. So if Kirk is hit off that token but does not die, he can push it back onto the power step and secure that, which could be a big end phase glory.
Oh, we're seeing the Enrage come out. Here comes the Gorechosen. We got 3 successes, so he's burning that ability. 3 successes to
So he chose to do the 1 damage attack for a higher odds, but then being able to drive Kirk off that token.
It was actually an important spot,
And
knowing that
there
there it is,
is-
sidestep.
There's this.
Oh,
Oh no, that is the burrowing. I forget what it's called.
tunneling terror.
Tunneling terror. Yeah, so you
Yeah.
can allow a fighter to appear in a stagger hex. So now Scritch has found himself in a territory that no one expected, next to a feature token. So he could sidestep either one of the fighters on, depending on what cards he holds in his hand.
Yeah, you may have one of the objectives that scores for holding all in either friendly or enemy. Not recalling which one that is. So he's got his.
Well, that's true. If he holds all in enemy territory, then he could score that as well. I believe the name of that card is. I should know this.
The advantage of a Spiteclaw sidestep over a Kirk one here is it also keeps the Gorehulk out of range. Until the
they won't
Gorehulk
do anything
inspires, he's
with
stuck
her.
on a range 1 attack.
So the hold all in a single territory is called Iron Grasp. That's from
Okay.
Everstone Sentinels. And the hold one in neutral and one in enemy is from the Pillage of Plunder deck, and I'll find the name of that card. So he may have one or both in his hand.
This is for Noctial. They are supposed to get the original cards. We're going to be seeing that tomorrow. There was a problem with one of the shipments at the last minute. So this should be the only day of streaming that we're working with proxies here. Or printout.
That card is slow advance, and it was from the Everstone Sentinels as well. We hold any treasure tokens in both neutral and enemy territory. Both cards are worth 2 glory. It seems like he's chosen to push himself onto token 5. And I missed how Herax got himself onto token 5.
I was looking down. I think there is a there's one in Reckless Fury. It's a push 2 as long as you end up next to somebody who charged. So I suspect that's what we just saw. Diving in is the card.
So Kirk is in a bad spot. So it looks like Diego is about to take his 4th activation, presumably to let Herax unload on him.
Herrick's still uninspired, but he does have a range 1, 3 swords, 2 damage attack.
Should Kirk fail to stand fast with a critical, would be meaning he dies. We have 1 critical here, so he can, with his 2 defense. So he may have lost that card. Actually,
He did.
because of
Yep, there was a
defense.
failed attack earlier.
So the best that Diego can do here
Is perhaps die, it seems.
So Pawel has lost Kirk. That does give a glory to Diego for the kill, and it will also give him, I believe, 2 blood tithes for bounty on top of the damage tithe as well. So he currently has 5 blood tithe, and he has 5 glory. But looks like the Gorehulk has taken another upgrade. And let's see if I can find the upgrade in question. It is called Blade Catcher. It is from the Reckless Fury deck, so I'll read that out for you. You won't have been able to see this before. Blade Catcher says when this fighter is the target of an attack, the attacker cannot use weapon abilities. So no cleave, no grievous when you're targeting Warhol. Make him functionally immortal at 6 wounds. So far, Pawel has chosen not to attack him, but I think it's basically a moot point now. There's no value in attacking the Warhol. We'll have to find his aggro benefits elsewhere. It does also appear as though something has happened because the alert was given to be pulled off of that token.
A very reliable end phase score coming in for Diego. Keep chapping. Had to make 3 attacks. They do that with their eyes closed. Looks like Pawel might have been shut out in that end phase scoring.
Yeah, having what I'm assuming was Lure of Battle played. Yes, it was Lure of Battle, a card from Blazing Assault. Take a fighter within 2 of one of your fighters and pull them 1 hex. So he was able to take the Lurking Skaven off of that token closer to Dromm, invalidating multiple different hold objective strategies he may have been going for. Was he holding Supremacy? Was he holding that hold all in enemy territory card? That's potentially 5 glory that just got blocked by a single card. The judge coming by to clarify the final frenzy ability, which we haven't talked about a lot for the Gorechosen, but it sounds like if you are damaged below 0 health, your total is now negative.
Damage is dealt,
And
and you
they
go
have the ability
negative.
to roll
So
7
if you
dice based on
frenzy
how
to
many
get back
blood
in
time
positive,
they
the damage
spend.
doesn't stop
You
at
can
0.
heal up for
Yeah.
each critical.
Most
roll.
people understood
You
that.
do have to bring yourself to a positive number in order to survive. A little bit of a on the fly, I think, here. I don't believe that that is anywhere near happening in this game, but it is important for all players to have that communicated to them. So if we do see that final frenzy being used later on in this game, then we know that we have to reach a positive, negative.
So we see Gorechosen starting off in pretty dominant form. They are looking at 5 blood tithe and 6 glory to the 1. And Pawel is running out of fighters with which to get his big old treasure scores.
Yeah, having saved Lure of Battle for right at the end after sidestep.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
Pretty high power play there. Diego definitely in a great spot right now. There's plenty of game left to play.
Yeah.
And they will play a best of 3. It's looking quite good for the Chilean.
Diego won the roll off, is taking the first activation. As a reminder,
I did not see the roll off.
yep, we had
If they did tie, the tiebreaker would go to the underdog, who currently is Pawel, but I don't know that that's what happened. It does appear from body language that Diego was considering his first move. So presumably he won the roll off.
going after the slightly harder target, Lurking Skaven sitting on 2 dodge.
The charge, though, he was already adjacent, likely to score some charge-related cards. There's 1 success. And 1 success as well, so no slain Skaven today.
That's a big one. It keeps him at 5 blood tithe instead of 7. He is scoring for having made an attack as part of charge and being in enemy territory. It's best foot forward.
I believe that is a blazing assault card. I'll find it. It's not. Best foot forward, it is called, from the Reckless Fury deck. Score this immediately after a friendly fighter's successful attack. If that fighter has any charge tokens and is an enemy territory. So he does not appear to have given himself the glory for that.
You're coming through.
And he likely did not give himself the glory for that, in part because the attack was not successful. Though it was made from enemy territory, which is what he was attempting to do there. So he charged in enemy territory. If successful, he would have scored that. The dice did not fall his way this time. So, as expected, we're moving back on these tokens. We are fully committed to the hold plan. And now that the other 2 fighters are a considerable distance away, there's a good chance that he will get to stay there.
He's curiously making an attack.
He has throwing stars on the inspired side. So he has made a low probability ranged attack against, I'm assuming, Dromm, in an attempt to drive him further away and score Sally Forth while he's at it. So he now has a charge token on a feature token. So he will score a Surge Glory for that. And if he wants, he might even be able to drive Dromm back, making it harder for him to then do that range too. See if that's what he decides.
So I think without having rolled any successes, there's been an FAQ that these folks are aware of which is that you must have at least one success on your tied attack roll to drive back
So
in the
drive
same.
back was not an option here, but he does
Yep.
still score the card.
Yep.
And now he is playing the card Settled In, which is to give a guard token to a fighter on a feature token. So now Scritch Spiteclaw is on guard, making it a little bit more difficult to shift as he is a 2-dodge fighter on this one.
Some pretty strong play from Pawel here, not getting too flustered and sticking with it after a rough start. Scritch is going to be tough to shift on that guard token.
We don't know this for a fact. I cannot see every card in his hand. My assumption is that Pawel has 5 glory in the end phase tied to holding both of those tokens, and is going to commit to trying to do that, because if he can, he'll bring himself even, if not ahead. So that first ability on Dromm's War Scroll is the Enrage, where he will spend a Blood Tithe to charge.
Enrage is the second. He's going Call of Blood, so he's pulling
He's done
Scritch
Call of
off.
Blood instead, which
Yeah.
is a smart move.
Had to burn.
2 fighters together must end adjacent. He
Yep.
spends a number of Blood Tithe to do this, so he's much further from Inspiration now, but Scritch is not on that token.
And Call of Blood specifically will push each fighter 1. But for 1 Blood Tithe, you can get another one out there. We just saw Great Fortitude, a little more health come down for Spiteclaw. Help him weather this storm of meaty fists about to come his way.
Players milestone. There's going to be 20 minutes remaining in game 1.
So worth noting that he was able to play that 2 glory upgrade, because when a fighter is slain, they are refunded the glory for any upgrades that they have been given. So change of the 2nd edition. I believe Herax has just been given sharpened points, which is a cleave to his attacks from the Reckless Fury deck.
It's a pretty strong play because Herix is going to be able to make that range 2 attack over the top, supported, and negate those shields that Scritch just picked up for his guard token.
You know, I might be wrong. I think that might have actually been a card called the Fury of Action, which is a card from Reckless Fury deck. Fighters adjacent to this fighter cannot use core abilities other than the charge. Interestingly, he did not put it on the core roll, but oh, look at that. And so now Scritch must charge.
Yeah.
Take no other actions. Really limiting which feature tokens that he can land on, and also blocking out that hold all in enemy territory situation that we've talked about before. So incredibly strong counterplay out of Diego, and I'd be interested to see if Pawel has any way to get himself out of this, because it looks like that was a great shutdown.
Yeah. It kind of does double duty as well, because if Scritch is forced to charge, he's going to have to shed that guard token, which is doing some work for him. And it forces another charge token onto the board, which unlocks some of the Reckless Fury scores that.
Well, additionally, the only token that he can reach that is unoccupied that he can charge to is one that is right next to Corbin, and does not score him the holding all in enemy territory condition.
I think he can probably make it to 1 if he wants to. There he goes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's one option for him.
uh,
How fast the rats are. Pawel's making another attack. Crit, and I believe that's 2 successes. So one crit for Dromm. He will take 2 damage. Or only 1, I apologize. That will give him a plateau. And unfortunately, he was forced to drive it back in a direction that puts the escape in the game.
I think that was making the best of a bad situation. Had to attack. Got far enough away from the Gorechosen. Headlong charge. No, he didn't get far enough away.
No, now the Gorechosen will be able to move a little further while charging, which will put Scritch in harm's way. I think his only landing spot would be that he is flanked, but it's still a pretty smart move. And here it comes. 4-move charge. Now the question is which target? There we go.
Oh,
He's going for
yeah.
the easier target and will still prevent a lot of the hold strategies. Two successes on his Dromm, which is only going to do 1 damage, but remember the Hungering Skaven is farm. And this has snare, which doesn't matter because the Hungering Skaven is all in. Oh, you know what? The Hungering Skaven is a 3-wound fighter. I forgot about that change. It's no issue.
I would not. I would have promised you that that was not the case. When you put down that much protein, you get the mass on, get the gains.
He is hungry because he is a growing boy.
There, I think we're seeing that best foot forward scoring, charge into enemy territory. The one that tried to score earlier in the round didn't quite execute. We have our first resurrect, first and only. Is it a war scroll ability?
It is a core ability that you can take, I believe. However, Diego is rightly pointing out that we are not charged out. The Hungering Skaven has not a charge token, which means that Scritch cannot be activated. You're going to check their rulebook, but as I understand it, Diego is correct. Since it is a core ability belonging to Scritch, you cannot choose that fighter to take a core ability unless everyone is charged.
So that is intuitively what it says. I believe the rulebook says that someone with a charge token cannot move, attack, or go on guard, but they may be able to use other core abilities if that core ability does not specifically require. Players using the rule books, they could. Oh, looks like they're coming to an agreement.
They've come to an agreement. Diego has apparently apologized, so I suppose you're right, Diego, that it is only certain abilities cannot be done with the charge token, but that core ability is valid. So it looks like the Festering Skaven has returned to the board.
Really good spirit from the players here. This is what you want to see. Everyone's using a new rule set. It's difficult to totally understand have it all sorted out, and we just saw it sorted out. There's no harm in bringing a judge, but they were able to sort it out with themselves, and it's all smiles at the table.
Well, and as we saw, I mean, even I misinterpreted the rule because I'm imagining things as they were a few weeks ago instead of as they are now. So it's easy to make that mistake. So good on Pawel for knowing his rules and his abilities.
Oh, is
Now
this
he
that
has chosen,
confusion? There it is.
To confusion, swap the places of 2 fighters. And by so doing, he's inspiring them. And that, because they were chosen by the ability. He's not using the War Scroll ability, which is not a ploy and does not expire. He's using a card. So he can do this in the power step. And still have that capacity later. So, also, valuably, inspire the Festering Skaven to dodge, which I think was the main value of that card for me.
Pawel just fighting and scraping to get back onto that number 5. You got to admire the tenacity here.
As a hold objective player myself, I very much appreciate the finesse that he's using. It. You do have to stay very calm under fire in this kind of situation because, yes, he is behind now by 5 glory, but he has 5 glory that he can score in the current board state and perhaps more if things go just his way and you can't get so stressed about that. It looks like you can't see the players from your stream angle, but a lot of composure out of both. Currently locked in, but it doesn't look like anyone has got their bears in too much.
I play a lot of games with my son, and this is frequently where our games stall out as a power step, where we're both staring at our hands and then we forget whose turn it is to play a card. It's a lot to process here.
I do see supremacy in his hand, and I do see hold all in. Like hold 2 in neutral and enemy, so you can get that.
We got Herrick's just put Duelist on. I think that's a great choice here. He's hoping to be able to drive
Drive
Lurking
back
Skaven
and
off.
then either overrun or use Duelist to step onto it after the fact.
Yep, real strong.
Seeing
Last
Dromm
activation of the
tap.
round here.
So this is pretty critical to his capacity to score supremacy because he needs 3 bounty.
Still
He
on
may not
3
actually get it
swords.
because Resurrected Fighter.
Oh, it's a whiff.
But he did miss. And that gives him
Oh.
available as well. A surge for a fighter who is still on a token. One of those FAQ things you may not have seen. The fighter has to remain on the token after the attack to score that card. So some people may have read that as if you were on it and been attacked, but it actually you still have to be on it for the FAQ for this score. Meeting that condition, bringing his score up to 3, closing the gap to just 4 difference between the 2 players.
Both players busting out a lot of their tricks already here. I think we've seen Call of Blood.
Call of Blood has already been used.
We've seen Enrage. So the only thing left on the War Scroll for the Gorechosen is their
Final Frenzy. And I don't think
yes.
we're anywhere near seeing that. There's only 1 damage on 1 fighter.
I think that's got to be very intentional from Pawel there. He's been delaying that Inspire.
Well, I'll tell you, having faced themselves last night, inspired Gorechosen are definitely something you do not want to see as a blue objective player, or really any player. And so avoiding that 8th blood tithe, incredibly valuable for the purposes of staying alive. You need to do.
So just 1 activation left for Pawel here in this round.
So I do have some fear, guys. We know in Pawel's hand is supremacy, and he currently doesn't have. There's the extra mile.
There it is.
Move on to that. He does not have enough bounty to hold
Yep.
with 3 because the Resurrected Fighter provides no bounty. But he does now have a fighter in all territories, so he has Careful Survey. So that's down another 1 surge. And it sets himself up pretty well to then score the card that allows you to hold 2 tokens, 1 in enemy and 1 in neutral. The name of that card for your reference is Slow Advance. So should he maintain this position, Pawel will score 2 more over the end phase. So I do think he's locked out of space. Unless he has another push to get Scritch on the token number 1. Oh, he's Delve. I wonder what he's got there.
On the edge is the objective being scored there. We're going to look that one up for you. I believe it is.
Any enemy fighters are vulnerable. And so he did leave the Hungering Skaven vulnerable, which means he does score that card. The score is now 7-8. Much closer game than we would have expected at the start of the round. We're now heading into the 3rd round. So he's given him the Staggering Blast, Excavating Blast, my apologies, which is a ranged attack that has stagger if done in enemy territory. So flying some upgrades with the glory that he has just earned.
And Burrowing Strike is the other one that's on.
So I think that one allows you to make a 2 damage attack from range 2. I forget the stipulation on that.
Well, it's on 2 swords, but you get an extra dice if you are staggered or on a feature. Jonathan Benton asking what we think were key moments in round 1 and 2. I think massive was the Gorechosen pulling Spiteclaw off of his token right at the last minute. Shut
Used
down a
all of
huge
Bud
early
to
score.
block both supremacy and also the hold on enemy territory for 5. Perhaps Diego didn't know that that was coming, but that was 5 glory that did not happen, and both cards remained in Pawel's hand for the second round,
Still chasing
significantly capping his potential total. So I would say yes, that's probably the largest moment of the game from an impact standpoint so far. And then through some pretty impressive use of ploys and positioning tactics, Pawel's actually been able to scrape himself back to within 1. Which, after having been shut out of 5 glory, looked like a near impossible task.
Both players with a fair amount of glory still to be able to be spent, I believe. It's a little harder for us to see exactly what all the Gorechosen have.
The Gorehulk does have 3 upgrades on him, and I'm unfortunately not entirely sure what they all are. I think at least one of them is a 2 glory. But the way the cards are positioned, we can't quite see what their names or what costs are. Black and white photos are making it a little harder for us.
An interesting side effect of not pursuing kills, although you're giving up the bounty, you are effectively bricking some of the defensive upgrades in the Gorechosen deck. Means that he's effectively working with fewer power cards to do what he needs to do. I'm wondering if that's about to change, though, given that we're seeing attack action upgrades being played out. And Presley Snipes, the volume has been a tricky thing to manage for us. We're going to do our best. If we can find a way to tweak it up in the future rounds, we will.
We have heard that possibly changing your video quality might make it a little better for you. I don't know in what direction, but if you scroll back far enough in the chat, I believe someone did make a mention of that. Looks like Diego has won the roll-off.
No, that was an attack.
Oh, my apologies.
Yep. So Pawel managed another throwing star attack.
Push Dromm further out of distance.
And tying up the score, we had
8-8, yeah. It was now a tie game.
a tie game with a huge top end for Pawel available if he can get it. Diego seems to be pretty savvy about the counterplay here, though. He's been working to stop it quite a bit.
Yeah, to have tied this game, considering how tight we were, and how bad things were looking for Spiteclaw at the start, it's actually incredibly impressive. No matter how this ends up, I can't say Pawel could feel bad about his performance.
To take nothing away from Diego, who put him in that spot with not just
critical
some good
success out of
attacks.
Dromm
Oh boy.
charge onto Spiteclaw, who does have some defensive upgrades and extra health. Critical and a failure, unfortunately. So he does not get overrun, but he will take the damage.
Oh, I think we have a reroll coming. That's not going to do.
And twist the knife, which will add Grievous to it.
Twist the
That was
knife
supposed
should
to be
be
played at
played
the time of the
before he
attack.
rolled his dice, though, so they may be picking it back up.
Okay.
Yep.
So great.
Diego
has decided not to use it. Guess he didn't play it at the right time. Perhaps remembering how Twist the Knife used to be in the olden days.
Oh, I
long
remember
ago.
so many times I got hit, and I just play it. Just throw it out there.
Do it. I know it's coming. That and then Trap and Pit Trap. All in
And
a
there we have the Gorechosen Inspire. All right, it's Turbo Moon now. Let's
So,
see
if you thought they were scary before, and I don't know if we can show the Goreholk's card. He has a range 2, 2 smash, 3 damage, no rune marks, and a range 1, 5 hammer, 1 damage with Grievous. So the Goreholk can put out 2 reliable damage and 3 decent reliability damage at range 2
Yeah.
with room for rune marks. So frightening, and he hasn't charged yet. So Spiteclaw might find himself in harm's way very soon.
I think the one that's more eye-popping is that 3 damage with no root marks at range, because great strength, they'll bump it to a 4. But I think especially in a matchup like this, you can't overlook that bottom one, which I'm gonna mentally call choking grasp, you know, or but that one has so much potential for overrun because of it being a 5 dice printed attack. Means that not only can Gorewolf stop you standing fast, but can grab that treasure from out from under you.
Pawel is. I think he was going to play an upgrade. I'm not sure if he did. I did see in his hand he still has supremacy, so he really needs Scritch to survive, which is why he's giving him a guard token. He has another card where no fighters are adjacent.
Sally. That was an objective there.
So close.
Didn't quite catch the objective, but that is putting Diego up. And that looked
And
like
he was
Kenai.
accurate,
Or accurate.
which is a reroll on attack.
Yeah. Gorehulk, good thing he's got big shoulders because he's carrying a whole lot of upgrades right now.
Sigmar players, 0. Enjoy your lunch with your friends.
Herax is making a charge. Another Skaven, who we will remember is currently so even 1 damage will.
And if this flops, Herrick's also has the upgrade requiring anyone next to him to charge if they want to do anything. Oh, that's going to.
It's 2 criticals, which I don't believe there's anything the Hungry Skaven can do about that. No value in rolling. So he is slain. Gives up a bounty. Total to 10 on Diego's side.
And he's taking his overrun as well. Pretty clever.
Powerful move here.
Yeah.
Because we do know from peaks at the hand that Pawel is holding slow advance, which requires him to hold that 1 token in neutral territory. Herax is unlikely to leave it now, which will bring it to Glory. And seeing as he's got a very, very tough time, in fact, he may not even be able to. I guess he could maybe get supremacy if he's very lucky. I wouldn't be surprised to see a focus action out of Pawel in order to see if he can get some objectives that are more squirrel with him.
Am I correct? I think we saw our first activation come from Dromm.
Did.
So Dromm is at least.
No, you know what? We didn't. Scritch took the first activation to make that range 3.
I see.
So Dromm will also have the final move.
Okay.
Which is not a great place for Pawel to be in. He's now on the token. He is on guard. Perhaps not.
There we go. I think we're just
He's
sorting
in
out a
position to
what
score supremacy, but not his other cards. Though he will still get 1 for having no of his friendly fighters adjacent. I'm trying to remember the name.
He's also gonna have. He has ace in the hole as long as lurking is over there. Oh, unfortunately, Pawel learning that range 2 is on the Gorehulk.
A little scary. He is at least on guard with 2 defense. Remember, the Gorehulk has not charged. And he has a reroll from accurate.
Oh,
But he has a reroll from accurate.
yeah.
And there's one.
We got one.
success.
Good odds for
Defense on card.
crit.
Crit and
There it is.
success.
Okay.
Very well done. So no, no push up. for him.
Opportunities.
Dromm does have the
Yeah, there's some
yeah, I was gonna
confusion
say
there.
that's
I
not
was
the
pretty
Red
sure that was a
Rider,
Carrick.
so Dromm, the Gorehulk cannot dance his way over there.
This is tense. This is going to come right down to it. It's whether I think it's all going to be about whether Scritch can weather
If
some
Scritch
more attack.
survives,
Yeah.
from what I can tell of Pawel's hand, he has 4 glory that he's going to score.
Wow.
Infinites. I don't know
Pavel
what-
clearly feeling good about his position, taking actions to go on guard.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly. Because he has supremacy. Now he has both of his bounty fighters on guard with 2 defense. So unlikely to be shifted unless they are slain. And Scritch does have 4 health remaining. He has now also played Hold the Line, which means friendly fighters cannot be pushed, I believe. Letting be more powerful than can be driven back.
For Nick in the chat, we are in round 3 of the first game of this match, and we're about to take our final activations.
He played friendly fighters cannot be driven back, though his on-guard fighters still can't, but he's preventing the drive back of at least the Festering Skaven if he needs that for something. And if he is holding the hold all in enemy territory, which he may well be, Pawel may actually have a potential 6 glory end phase if everything goes right for him.
I could be wrong. I think I saw he had the 1 glory for nobody standing next.
He does, yes.
Okay.
With that,
That was your 1?
supremacy for 3,
Yep.
and then 2 for a card whose name I simply cannot. It is called Iron Grasp, which I think he is. So Gorehulk is going for what he believes to be. It'll be 2 damage with the choking grip and Grievous. So if he can kill.
This is big. Big roll.
Zoom in on that dice tray so we can see just how this goes. This is a 5 hammers attack with a reroll.
We're going to back it out for a second. We got some possible card play. All right.
Okay. 5 hammers with a reroll. That's 2 successes, and then 1 reroll. Is he choosing not to take it? And that is not on guard, not 2 successes. That'll be a slain Festering Skaven. Can't be driven back. Festering Skaven was not on guard. Oh, so he takes. Oh, I see. Because he's a 3 wound fighter. I keep forgetting this. He's not slain and he can't be driven back. Which means, unless there's something I'm missing, Pawel has a very big end phase coming up. Delving to now be holding an objective to allow him to score. You know, I'll admit, unless Diego has something up his sleeve, I think this might actually be Pawel's game, which
Incredible.
I did not think was possible until about a round and a half ago. I think Diego has again tried to put that dance away card. His name I've forgotten. Yeah, only Herex has the ability to move after an action right now. And then he pushes him away anyway. Because he wants to be in neutral territory for probably to have everyone in the same territory with a charge token. That's my assumption.
Yeah.
So he has scored
Arena Mortis.
Arena Mortis, where everyone has the charge tokens in the same territory.
I think there has to be at least 4. And red.
Red Aftermath, where the total bounty characteristic of slain fighters is 2 or more.
Oh, that's a gimme.
So 1 glory end phase. Looks like he's got himself to 13. So Pawel has 1, as expected. 2 more and 3 more as expected, putting him at 14, winning 14 to 13. Pawel has somehow taken it. Diego shaking his head in disbelief. That is an incredible come from behind. I can't say I could have played it any better myself. Pawel just pulled off a masterclass in hold objective, which is refreshing to see because at the end of first edition, that was a very difficult thing to do.
Well, I hope Pawel, for his sake, has more of that in him for this weekend because he's going to have to
He's
repeat
going to
that
have
a
to
number
play
of
Dromm
times.
several times, is my guess.
These guys are going to get reset. We're going to reset our glory.
Battle Mellet has reminded me that it is a treasure token, not an objective token, and I'll get there.
Okay,
Give me a
thanks,
couple.
nerds.
Okay, so the players will reset. It looks like Diego has a good attitude about it, but remarkable to have a game pulled out from under your feet by 1 glory win. It's pretty reasonable to assume he had a high probability of winning at the start.
There has been a ruling that, for the purposes of these best of 3 matches, whoever lost the roll off in the first game of the match will automatically win it in a second.
So, while the rulebook doesn't say that for this tournament, at least, we are having the second game be an auto win for the other player on the roll. So, since Diego got to choose the board side and the orientation, Pawel will now have that advantage. And being 1 game up, now being the person who has won this roll off by default, he's in actually a relatively strong position. We'll see if Diego makes any adjustments to his strategy and maybe can figure out how to deal with those wounds, 3 wounds on the minions now, because that was made them much more durable than I had expected.
Zach, aka Requisite, saying that this game is coming down to everyone forgetting that the minion Skaven are on 3 health.
I mean, I certainly did more than once.
I feel attacked, which is appropriate because Zach attacked me right off the board at Adepticon 2022, I want to say. Who knows? Time is a flat circle.
We're going into game, starting game 2. Pawel is light plus. About 60 frames to games by 140 in the third round. And I did not think this fun.
Jarmoir's question about what play could have landed differently to have Diego hold on to that. It's a tough call. I think Scritch remained a key to that scoring supremacy. Like he was a source of a lot of getting to enough bounty on treasure, and the fact that Scritch was able to kind of sneak his way out of being killed not only denied a ton of bounty but unlocked a big score.
Well, I am pleased to say that for the first streamed match of the World Championships of Warhammer, we just saw some world-class play. That was about as brainy and technical and masterful as you can expect world's level players.
But
to
I'm
have
looking
done
over
any
here,
of
I'm
that.
seeing Diego grinning. I'm loving to see it.
Yeah, this is, I mean, he's a fighter. He had to earn his way here.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's been down 1 game before and still fought his way back. He won a Grand Clash to make it here. I don't know how tough the scene is in Chile, but based on how he's playing, looks like he's pretty good. So. Remembering that you look at the cards before you start placing treasure. It's an easy thing to forget. It's
Yeah.
been a big change with this new edition.
It's good for perpetually sleep deprived folks like myself, where I can't hardly remember what's in my deck. So sometimes I need that initial reminder.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
it's remembering too that these players come from two very different time zones.
Oh,
So
sure.
their wakeful states are probably radically different as well. Boy, am I glad to be at Worlds. This is this is better than I could have expected. That was a great first game.
That was awesome. Cool as a cucumber. Pavel's putting on a sweater.
I was about to make a joke about ice in his veins, but I think we're both thinking the same thing. He is a little chilly in this room.
I'd agree with the assessment from Noctail that 2 defense dice being a pretty big deal, especially if you can find ways to bump it.
Two defense on guard multiple times came through for Pawel last game, so I can
Yep.
see that.
Yep.
Math has changed, and it is not anything to sneeze at.
We are looking at the 9s orientation now, so neutral territory is even bigger. That's important for things like Arena Mortis. There's a little more flexibility in scoring that.
It also allows Pawel more chances to get tokens in that neutral territory.
That's true.
I think he's just been zoned out again. So
Diego
knowing where to place those tokens to make things work.
Yeah. Going in the tank on this one. We had a little side chat with Mike Brandt, who's done an incredible job of overcoming some big unexpected developments here to make sure that this goes off as smoothly as possible, given some spectacular logistical challenges. Gorehulk, who's surprised to see him up on the front lines?
Not me. He has only moved 3 uninspired. I think even when inspired, he remains moved 3. And so having Gorehulk near the front lines makes him more able to reach things. So it looks like there are 3 different starting hexes within reach of his initial charge, and at least one of those must be occupied by Pawel's fighters to start the game. So Gorehulk will have a charge target to open the game, possibly 2. Part of the difference in how board orientation works in this new edition is it is much harder to hide.
Mhm.
You cannot play as passive denial as you used to. So the aggressive player will usually have at least one good option to open any game that you spent the first round just blocking.
We now have the Gorechosen fully deployed, so Spiteclaw can react. I think we're going to see Spiteclaw at the very back here, hiding behind Kirk. Yeah.
Looks to be the case. All right. And again, we have the same 2 minion setup to allow running through a stagger for scoring that surge. So it's possible that he has drawn that same card that he had at the beginning of last game. Like, can't see either player's hand very well right now.
Roll off.
You know, with the
Hammer for Diego and a surrounded.
has won the opening roll off and can choose whether he'd like to go first.
Extra power card to Pawel, and giving how much that he can leverage with that power deck, I have to imagine that he's maybe okay with that, especially if Diego chooses to take the first activation.
Well, and often, as I said last time, the hold objective player usually does like to go second.
Yeah.
It does means he delays moving on to those tokens so that there's fewer charge targets available.
Yep.
And also he has the last move, allowing him a chance to get those. Now, Wings of War is a card that has just been played, plus 2 moves to the next charge. That means that Presumably Gorechosen can get just about anywhere he wants right now.
Merry Christmas.
I don't have the bag space for that.
Your problem.
I guess, yeah. I'm wearing 2 suits on the. Right, Diego's about to roll for this attack against the Hungry Skaven with 1 success. And 1 success to
Oh.
Hungry Skaven, so
Wow.
no damage dealt, no blood tithe given.
Hungering Skaven, enjoying that 3 health, we remembered, and a shield.
You remember. Gorechosen doing 3 damage would have negated it, but it does seem that that 1 shield has worked out in his favor today. Critically, though, the Gorechosen was able to drive him back, preventing adjacency with Scritch, which limits his capacity to do things to inspire Scritch.
A
So
very
sidestep
early
the whole game.
sidestep.
We now have a fighter on Treasure Token 1.
Inspired too. I think that's the main reason I might have seen that
That's
come out
because,
early.
Yeah, Kirk goes from 1 shield to 2 dodge upon
Yeah.
inspiring,
Yeah.
and gains an attack die on each of his attacks. So, based on how last game went, I'm not sure how many
Yeah,
Pawel players
Totally
played.
irrelevant.
Maybe if Herax decides to get a little too risky, but
Yeah. Yeah, generally I would expect take and hold player to be sitting on those pushes until as late as possible. But again, I think the
with the
inspires
capacity to inspire, he may want
Yeah.
to put her there. And also prevents occupancy of that token, because as you can see, Wings of War allowed the Gorechosen to take Treasure Token 4.
Mhm.
And I don't think you're shifting him off of it without too much trouble. And so, he has to get some tokens where he can, while he still can. Because Diego, being a world-class player, he's going to adjust his approach for game 2. And that may include some more token occupancy and fewer attacks.
Pawel's used a War Scroll ability.
Sally forth.
Yeah. Sally Forth is scored.
I believe that required him to attack, which is what Diego is now reading. Let me take a look. Make that card myself. Yeah, he needs a charge token, and he doesn't currently have.
Mm.
To turn up the grind and
We do have a comment in the chat. Lethal Ferret, great name by the way, asking if there's an FAQ for the scurry on the kits. There is. Let me see if I can find that. Zarbag's Git says scurry. Use this immediately after a friendly fighter moves if a different friendly fighter with no move or charge tokens was adjacent to the fighter before it started that move. That friendly fighter can move, and then also added this ability can only be used once per turn. So you can only scurry once, and only if that fighter has no move or charge, dramatically limiting their capacity to run around the board. That said, there is at least one Zarbag's Gits player here at Worlds, and hopefully we'll get a chance to put them on stream.
Yeah.
So we can see how that is changed. Because the way it was originally written, it looks like Zarbag's had the capacity to do near infinite movement. Significantly toned down with this FAQ.
Frenzied Rush. Rec was in with the assist from the chat. That was Justified Paranoia pushing Spiteclaw along. So we're going to see something from Herrick's here, unless something's wildly different. I would have to guess we're going to see an attack at Kirk. Herrick's does not start on 4 move anymore, but he does inspire to it, despite that Dad Bob gut He does a little bit of cardio.
He used to be an athlete, okay, back in high school. You should have seen him. Could have made state if coach put him in.
We are at no blood tithe right now.
Yeah, remarkably none.
Oh, we have
Dramatically limit
three
Dromm to
given
doing
out.
two things. I think Pawel has decided there will be as few attacks as possible. That, some crucial defense early in the game. He hasn't been able to get the ball around.
I know in first edition there was a situation where Malog, if Malog couldn't land those first few attacks, he couldn't get rolling. It would be a tough game for him. I'm wondering if we're seeing a similar dynamic with Dromm here. All right, Hungering Skaven, can he dodge it again? He will with that. That's no successes. Diego having awful luck right now.
Still smiling, shrugs his shoulders in a "what can you do" kind of gesture.
We should note that no matter how the result of this match goes, both players will still be in the running to advance to the championship round.
That's true. The pool stage will take the top 4 players from their pool. Pools have between 10 and 12 players, so should you lose one match but win out the rest, you still have a very good chance of being in the top 4 from your pool, and then you will be seeded into the elimination bracket second half of the tournament. So losing a game, even losing 2-0 here, does not shut you out at all. And even if you lose every match throughout the course of the tournament, you are still fighting for your national standing and country score. So every game does have impact.
We've got one activation left for Dromm, and I think it is going to be Dromm. He's the only one who's able to throw an attack right now. It is a pretty dominant performance right now from Spiteclaw.
Yeah, this is the challenge with dicey aggro, as I learned to my great disappointment in multiple previous tournaments, is if the dice abandon you, there's often not much you can do. Diego can play very well, but does require some successes. Pawel getting an early defense, and then Diego having some poor offensive dice past that really does limit his capacity. Now, that said, this is round 1.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time for things to go his way throughout the rest of the game. And like we thought Pawel had no chance last game.
Exactly.
You don't know what Diego has coming next.
We saw briefly a sidestep come out of Diego's hand and then go back in. I have to assume that was preparing for a swing from Dorholt.
Replacing the upgrade. Unfortunately, the same upgrade I couldn't read last time.
If we have any sleuths in the chat.
Let's see.
And we have Settle In. Do we get another guard token out? Wow. I think both players have figured out where the scoring is going to swing on in this round. We have a guard token coming on Kurt. A sidestep used to slide Herrick's onto a treasured.
There it is. Hidden Aid is the name
Oh.
of the upgrade. Hidden Aid means fighters adjacent to this fighter are flanked. So Gorechosen has given himself the capacity to.
That means 2 successes. Oh, there it is. We have a successful attack. There is no drive back
Because of the
against the
flank
guard.
that Dromm gave himself with that upgrade, he has succeeded on attacking. Cannot drive Kirk back because of the guard token, but he has dealt damage, and he does receive the blood tithe for his efforts. Yeah,
Critical effort. He
Yeah,
rolled a
because he
crit.
rolled a
So he
crit.
got his
critically,
score.
critical effort doesn't even require it to be successful. Though this one was.
Right. Here's the other thing for Diego is that he now has enough blood tithe if he wants to spend everything he's got to pop a charge off before the end of the round. So he could disrupt positioning here unexpectedly. We have to imagine Pawel is watching for that.
Now that he has those blood tithe, he can begin to do things with them. Fusion,
Oh, wow.
which that's a powerful play. So now the token has been stolen and that fighter is inspired. Also now on 2 dodge.
Breck was enjoying that play, I'm sure.
Just vicious saving into this lane in the round.
If you
Herrex with the range 2 could possibly kill Kirk, but I don't know that that would necessarily stop because he's set up for supremacy and slow advance and also another card. So if he has the cards I think he might have, Pawel has a chance at another 6 glory entries, possibly more. Best he could possibly get with Iron Grasp is 7 glory at the end of this. State remains the same.
If do you think it's worth it? Oh, there goes. It's happening.
Okay, the Blood Tithe has been spent.
This is going for a kill, is what this is.
And even if it doesn't, it does block slow advance, which requires that neutral territory.
Aha.
So even
So
if he
if he
doesn't
can get a
kill him,
drive
if he
back.
can drive him off, he blocks 2 glory here.
Not terrible odds. You think he's going with the 3 damage though?
I don't know. He is flanked, so he's got a little bit better success chance. It looks like Diego is.
Oh, he's rolling a lot of
100
dice. This is gonna be the
There is a crit.
crit and 2 successes.
There's not much you can do about that. And since Stand Fast limits how much damage you can reduce to 1, even if he did get more crits, he would
No
still do
successes
like
at all.
driven him off, and he's overrun because he scored more criticals. So
Gorhulk with a big play.
negated somewhat of that crafty move there.
Oh, did he score? He scored branching fate off the
Yes.
4 dice attack.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
All 4 were different, which is high risk. I don't know if that was a part of his plan, but getting a glory, getting a blood tithe, and shutting down 2 possibly more glory. Pretty well done for Diego.
Pawel's still in position to score some pretty good end phase, but
I can see Pawel getting 5 glory here at the most,
yeah.
not knowing what's in his hand. Now he's doing a bunch of delving. Uncertain why. He have an activation left, and now he can hold. Oh, I don't know. His
No,
crit
I don't
doesn't-
think. I think they're out of activations because that was
It's not clear to me what the goal was here, other than perhaps to be in cover at the start of next round
could be.
when stagger no longer matters.
Keen Eye going on the Gorhulk.
Keen Eye allows you +1 dice to all of your attacks.
Melee.
Melee attacks, which is the only kind the Warhawk has.
I'm gonna not manage this username, but Squall Fate Renoa 1. Print cards are allowed because of how close this game, how close this event came to the release of some of these warbands and their cards, and so competitors were given a preview of them, and they were supposed to have physical copies today. They'll be arriving tomorrow. There was a slight logistical hiccup. Impressively, Stritch, unscratched, unscathed.
Never even targeted, as far as I'm
Yep.
aware.
So he's going to have that 3 bounty fighter. Let's see. We have Arena Mortis.
Scritch is actually only worth 2.
On the edge for a vulnerable
Here's the
fighter.
Yeah, that one has.
Oh, I think this might be the
It's bloody momentum.
Yeah.
Score this in an end phase of 2 or more friendly fighters with a total bounty characteristic of 4 or more. have charge tokens and are in enemy territory. And he has met that condition with both Arax and Dromm charging an enemy territory.
And here are those scores.
He's got Supremacy, and he also has scored
Lost
no
in the
members
depths.
adjacent. So that is a big juicy end phase there. Currently some discussion about whether a card is scored or not.
I think it's a language issue as far as understanding that it's just the friendlies don't have to be next to each other. I think they're going to get there shortly.
Both players have English as a second language, so there is some interpretation needing to be done. But it looks like they've come to an understanding. So it is looks like 5-7 right now.
We're counting through objectives to make sure that we're on the right score. I think there was at one point there was a disparity between what we were tracking. We had the correct 4, and Diego just forgot to set 1 glory out, so there's getting sorted out. But now it is correctly showing 7-5.
So again, despite us saying, you know, looks like Diego's a little bit out of it, he's actually winning right now by 2 glory.
We know everything.
Join us as we learn the second edition together.
Roll off
Right.
for round 2.
They've tied, but because
Oh, we have an
Bobo's the
underdog.
he wins that. So now he may choose. There's tokens here. Now, Pawel looking through his hand to decide whether he'd like to go first or second. Seeing several upgrades. He's already spent most of his glory, so not the greatest hand.
I do actually like that kind of throwback to first edition using spendable glory tokens just to help you at a glance know how much you have available.
I very much like special. I think they're a beautiful part of the game that people should use whenever they get the chance.
We're at that critical start of the second round. We have real tight scores. The warbands are fairly entangled. There's some kills potentially on the table for Dromm. Fighters are about to pop off, and we're figuring out what that's going to be. Big surprise, Pawel moving on to a treasure token.
Puts himself in a little bit of a safer position, and remembering that the token was delved, the one that Kirk is on. Now we are choosing to play
Hidden path, maybe? Almost certainly hidden path, because I think Scritch is about to teleport.
Yep, there he goes. Scritch has found himself on an edge check, so now he's on another one. Puts himself in a very safe position, though not near any tokens that need to be held.
I think he's within 5 of treasure 3, and obviously much closer than that to treasure 2. So from that position, he can come to the rescue if either
Either
hunkering.
one of them is displaced. That's true. So he has the Pawel has the capacity now to hold all in both territories.
Wow.
Yeah. Save for Gorechosen occupying that one in the center, he's actually in a very good standpoint based on the objective cards that we don't just play. And now the Gorehulk has come off of that token, attempting to finish Kirk off.
You have to imagine he's going with the high dice attack here.
He doesn't need more than that. And there are
3 successes.
that's 2 successes. No, actually, Kirk is on 2 dodge and smite,
Yeah.
so no successes. Slain fighter, even being in cover did not help him. Score a glory for kill as well as a card. I'm assuming it's charging enemy territory. Can't quite read that one. Glare on the sleeves getting in my way a little bit. Let's see if I can figure that out.
So that's a surge scored and a 2 bounty.
2 bounty for Kirk. Also 3 blood tithe for doing that. Damage and then 2 for the bounty.
And I think I've been calling Spiteclaw as being 3 bounty. He's only
He is
2,
only 2.
but he's an important piece of the puzzle. Still safe. It's really looking like a Gorechosen party in the middle with all the Spiteclaw swarm literally running to the edges.
Yeah. All 3 of them in the middle of the board with full health.
Yeah.
And all the rats.
Yeah.
Laser.
Towering over Kirk's corpse, and Spiteclaw far away cackling just as he planned it.
This is the game. Spiteclaw took the first blood. Spiteclaw took the first blood by 1 more and 6 grand. Round. Did not see yeah.
We have a few players having finished their matches elsewhere, coming and marveling at this top matchup.
No, because I'm looking at them right now.
Sorry, I had some raised voices nearby. We're just a lot of different game systems and a lot of streams operating. Looks like with that distraction, we overlooked
It
a
missed something, yeah.
one
Pawel's
glory
got
from
himself an extra glory point somehow. Apologies for the distraction. I guess there's an issue with a different stream and perhaps a judging situation in a different game. Got it. Back to it now. Players looking through their cards, trying to figure out what exactly to do next. Pawel only having 2 glory to play with and a handful of objectives, upgrades, means he's got to make some hard choices. Running away from Dromm and Warhol. And critically holding that no man's territory, and then placing great fortitude on that fighter who is on guard. Meaning he's 4 wounds and will be very difficult to shift.
He's already got 1 damage on him, but I think that is important for keeping him out of Herrick.
Herax cannot take him out in 1 attack now. And being on guard means he will not be driven back. So he can score slow advance. And he, having dealt the token now, looks like claim the prize is the card that is.
We have a shirt coming off on one of the other tables here.
Someone appears to be quite pleased with having won a game. Claim the prize is score this immediately and a fighter delves in enemy territory. There is an underdog condition that Pawel didn't need to beat because he did do it in enemy territory. So he scored himself another game and has 7 now to Diego's 10. Scream of Anger is a card.
Oh.
He has chosen to put 2 damage on himself. On a,
No, this
That was
is
different.
braced.
yeah,
Same
Okay.
fighter on there, or same warband at least, but it throws a free charge token out.
so now he is charged out, which he may need for some of his cards.
I have to imagine he's got a push in hand because right now that doesn't buy him anything. Nobody other than Herrick's is in range.
If he has confusion, he may be able to put it up there. That is
Dive in.
dive in. to
Yep.
the push 2.
Now he's got the
Yeah.
damage to seal the deal.
And he's also flanked. So
Boy.
Warbolt could finish that fighter off.
Pawel scheming his hand for answers.
Not sure there are any with the glory left to spec. Just hope the dice are on his side. See what Diego has with 3 dice, seeing as he put Keen Eye on the Gorehulk. He has
Got a
a crit
crit
and
and
a
a success.
success, which is a rough spot to be in for Pawel right now. Yeah, that is
That's not it at all.
So down he goes. 1 bounty and also a card being scored here for Diego. So he's now at 12 and has gained some more blood time.
Pawel thinking hard about what he's going to do, and Diego reviewing his options.
If he delves that token back, and he still holds 2, he doesn't need the glory total, bounty total, because he's already scored supremacy. But he really wants to be on token 5, ideally. Can he reach it, having squished so far away, is the question. And then does he want to reach it, since he has 2 monstrous fighters who sidestepped onto it anyway, so there's not much you can do there. That line of play is now out of the question. So we do have a question in the chat. Can someone explain how Blood Tithe works? So because we haven't seen this card yet publicly, I'll give a quick rundown. Blood Tithe is a War Scroll mechanic that is on the Gorechosen of Dromm's card. If the Gorechosen take damage or deal damage at any time from an attack or from a power card, then a Blood Tithe is given to them. And if they reach 8 Blood Tithe total, then they will inspire all of their fighters. They have 3 War Scroll abilities, all of which have some way of spending those Blood Tithe counters. So the Gorechosen player has to choose between using them as a resource, building them up towards inspiration. And in an early game, where he has not reached 8, he has to make some hard choices about what to do with them. Pawel is doing a good job not attacking, and therefore limiting the opportunities to accumulate them. And so, from anecdotal evidence in aggressive mirror matchups where Gorechosen is playing another strike warband. Routinely, the Gorechosen player can hit 15 to 20. But Pawel doing an excellent job of slowing that down and keeping the inspired fighters from tearing it apart.
I think we just saw a move and then a confusion, which gets Spiteclaw onto that feature token. Door hold. Making a move.
Delving it back, and now unclear what the plan is there. We know he's already scored supremacy. Actually, you know what? I see it in his hand. Never mind. He's holding treasure token. And now he has supremacy. There it is. I thought he scored it in the first round. But it looks like Diego also scoring pretty substantial hand himself.
Red Aftermath. Keep chopping.
And a 2 glory
Arena Mortis.
So 4 for Diego to 4 for Pawel means this remains a very tight game.
Pawel's popped out some big scores, and again, he's in that position where he's not going to claim a lot of bounty back, but he showed us last time, so we'll see where we go.
Dromm being given great fortitude, it looks like. Not sure that he needs that. I guess he has to work, right?
And actually, we can see there as a fighter has died, his upgrades are broken. I'm curious, he's uninspiring these fighters as he dies.
Actually, you are supposed to do.
Is that true?
Fighters are uninspired once they die.
Well, there we go.
Their bounty is given. They are taken out of action. They are uninspired, and their upgrades break, and the glory for them is refunded. Should he bring one of them back to the field using the
right.
ability,
That'll
they
choose.
be uninspired when they return and have to be chosen again by a Floyd to inspire.
You see who won that roll off?
I did not. I
Okay.
only saw Diego roll a hammer. I don't know what briefly.
Should be noted, Diego is sporting the Grand Alliance Chaos dice that came out in first edition. That red hue really helped me out. Clearly must have won. Wow, we got determined effort and
And twist the knife. So
Knife.
+1 dice and +1 damage with this attack. And critically, he has remembered to play them before the attack this time, so he will get the effect. So World now rolling 4 dice, and will be doing 4 damage if he hits.
oh my goodness. Reminding his opponent about keen eye at this point.
Looking for a hammer here. There's 3 of them. It's a good position to be in if you're the Gorehog.
Now, Spiteclaw is really hoping
Needs
for
a
a crit here.
in order
for
to
staying
stand
back.
fast and not eat all 4 damage.
That is not it.
Not it. Big blow to Pawel's chances here. There's 2 bounty, 2 blood tithe, and I think that meets the inspiration condition as well. Or perhaps not. Oh, he's still 1 short. Unless he's miscounted.
What was he at before?
I thought he was at 5, but he got 2 bounty and Dylan damage from putting that 8.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I counted wrong or something I don't know about, but I think Diego could potentially inspire here. Though he may not need to, since he's put himself in a pretty powerful position.
Yeah, we have no schemers left on the board, so there's no resurrects left for the Skaven. Kudos to Diego for correctly identifying the right time to kind of dump all those resources. I tend to be a bit of a coward in these situations and hold on to that until way too
to be
late.
Useful.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I tend to burn them right away. Spend the rest of my cards passing power because I have none left. I used them all in the first activation. So maybe someday the two of us will figure out where in the middle we're supposed to be. That might be why we're at the commentator's booth and not at the competitor's
It
table.
could be. Pretty sure I'm seeing Tunneling Terror in Pawel's hand.
You know he had it from last game. I'm not sure how much advantage it gives him other than escaping from the borehole.
That's wrong.
Right. This is
Oh, boy.
perhaps a charge.
Yep. Desperate times here.
See how he can drive it back. Oh, so yes, Diego has remembered that he is inspired.
Hmm.
Oh, you know what it was? It was a move followed by. Oh no, he is making the charge.
Yeah.
But he also has the extra vial to get him on the token while he does it. Perhaps to score Sally fourth. I don't remember if he's already gone that or not.
Armoire, I don't have to imagine that. I can just remember it.
So aggressive defender is the card. So making the attack successful wasn't necessary. He just had to make one. But I do think Pawel is kind of in a last ditch situation here, straight before we were able to get it. It would have been nice to hit and drive back Warhol, but again, now that he's expired, he's at range 2. So it would not have actually done much the same. By the numbers to draw some cards. A whole one card, but what can you do? And then Wary Delver to place a guard token on his 2 dodge fighter.
Doing what he can.
I mean, there's not really much else he has the capacity to do right now. He has to stay in it as tight as he can, and I'm not sure what end phases he's holding. I see slow advance in there, so if he can get to that treasure token 5, somehow, some way.
If Diego doesn't have much in the way of, I wonder how much charge token manipulation he has in hand, because
He's already done the one where you can give yourself one. I'm not sure if he has Over to You, which is an unrevealed card so far for this stream.
oh, I think we see a,
Give a
go ahead.
charge token on one fighter to another.
I think we see a focus action coming from.
Yeah, Diego
Diego.
maybe drawing some cards here. Because he's in a pretty good spot. He doesn't really need to move. Right there. That has just been scored by Pawel. It is called Stand Firm. Immediately after your opponent's action step, the friendly fighter with any stagger tokens holds a treasure token in enemy territory. Because of the focus action, that was Diego's action. So Pawel has scored that card. Didn't even really have to take a risk to do it. Narrowing the gap piece by piece.
Do you think Hungary Skaven is eyeing up that treasure token 5? If Herrick's
If
vacate,
Arax leaves and does not block his path, Hungering Skaven can make it to treasure token 5. And if that remains, then Pawel can score slow advance for 2. Depending on what else is in his hand, he has a path if he can get Herrick's out.
oh,
Maybe he's going for an overrun.
like we said, desperate time.
Unling Terror, here it comes. He was chosen, so he's inspiring him. It happens before the attack, so he will have 2 hammers for this attack. If he's going to make an attack at all. I'm not sure, maybe he has confusion. The War Scroll ability for Spiteclaw Swarm, the Confusion Mimic they have requires both fighters to be friendly, so it does limit his capacity there. Looks like
We are seeing an attack.
critical, but he is a swords. I think he's a hammer fighter, so there it is, the overrun we were looking for. And some damage has been dealt to Herax. Since he's inspired, you're not too scared about giving him more blood tithe at this point. So, should this board state remain? Pawel has at least 2 glory coming his way, possibly more, which currently isn't enough to drag him back in it, but I don't know what else he's doing. Now he's saying, you can't drive me back. Diego have to hope for something in his last move.
There it is.
Pretty you.
Charge token
So the charge
manipulation.
token has been removed from Dromm, from the Gorehold, given to Dromm, and now the Gorehold was free to charge again should he please. It looks like that's what he's going to do. So the higher probability attack is a flanked, on defense, staggered fighter.
Ooh.
Can't be driven back, so he does have to go for the 3 damage attack. He was there, but attempting to find the right spot. He does have 1+1 move on the char. He's been upgrading. Perhaps he's trying to get all fighters in the same territory having charge tokens. I think he already scored that card. This looks like 3 hammers with a reroll coming his way.
Oh boy.
Critical and success.
Two
And
success.
success.
Yep.
No value in rerolling. I can't stand fast with a big one defense die, so I'm not sure there's any value in rolling at all. Oh, he had 2 defense dies and a reroll. I must have missed those upgrades, but unfortunately it was not enough. Yeah, and it looks like that's the end of the Hungry Skaven. 1 more bounty, and pretty much the end of Pawel's hopes for taking this game. He's chosen to say that the Lurking Skaven now has +1 defense.
Oh boy.
2 criticals. Still puts him in a pretty bad spot. And that isn't quite going to do it. So that's the end of this game today as well. Nope, I'm forgetting again. Those guys were made on 3 moves.
To be fair, I thought you were just assuming that Herrick's had 3 damage.
I was just remembering things wrong, as usual. So it looks like Duelist was on the Gorehold this game. Last game we remember multiple times he attempted to use that after action push, but it was on Herax instead. Diego more wisely placed behind this time.
Momentum.
Right.
And we have a handshake.
That makes it a 1-1 match. They will be going to a 3rd game. It's pretty tight so far.
That it is.
So after 2 pretty intense games, looks like we're 1-1. Our first streamed match was really fun. How you feeling so far?
It's good. It's exciting. I like that both games had some declarations early about what the viewers thought was going to happen, and
We largely agreed with them, and both times were wrong. So
yeah.
this is shaping up to be a pretty good back and forth match. Final score didn't necessarily reflect that in the second game, but very tight match so far, and very interested to see what happens. Interestingly, as well, both times the player who won the roll-off, who got to orient the board, was the losing player.
Yeah.
So while community assessment that's a huge advantage in this edition of the game, neither game did it end up delivering a win for that player. So we'll see over the rest of the tournament how that shakes out. So far, that seems to be not the case. That the orienting player is not always having a huge advantage.
We'll be returning to another pure roll. They're doing things in the correct order here. They're shuffling up. They're going to draw their hands, and they're going to make that roll. I can honestly say I've not played against the new Spiteclaw yet, so it's been kind of cool to see them in action.
Yeah, for sure. I had on my first read thought, similar concept to their envisioned version, not the original Shadespire one, but the Rivals of the Iron City one.
Yep.
I thought kind of induces you into an aggressive playstyle. I believe they did classify it as a strike warband.
Yeah.
And I thought they didn't really have the muscle for that. And Mr. Pawel's agreed with that assessment and chose them to take them in a pretty purely hold form. And he's doing much better than I would have guessed. Based on only the read of the cards, again, not played with or against them either. So far, at least in the hands of a skilled pilot, very potent.
Yep. I think this is anyone's match to win. We are going to be running up a little bit on a time limit here. When we get a judge to come by, we'll figure out how much we got to go. Twitch stream is down. Came here for some noise. How's it going?
Twitch stream might be down, but the Immortal Realms YouTube is always on.
I think they may be talking about maybe there's an official Twitch that has gone down or something like that.
I think that's for 40K buses for the games.
Yeah, one of those.
Right,
We've got Patriots from both sides of this international matchup weighing in the chat.
And for those of you who are joining from the down Twitch stream, this is Warhammer Underworlds. This is the first public tournament for the second edition of the game, Ember Guard. We are currently having a player from Chile and a player from Poland duke it out in what has been an incredibly tight set the first two games, and they are now in the third and decisive match. And the winner of this final game will be the one who comes away with a win on their record. So let's jump back to the action and see how they grade their fighters.
Armbar, I'm guessing we will have a total of 2 matches today for every player. The original plan was a total of 6 matches of pool play. That's still going to be the case. Looks like it'll be 2 on Thursday. It is today. Today's Thursday.
Today is Thursday.
Okay. 2 on Thursday, 3 on Friday, then 1 more pool play match Saturday morning, and then the cut. Taking a quick skim of the tables that are still out there, I'm seeing at least 4 or 5 other games still going. There may be more that are just out of sight.
If I had to guess, I would say about half of the games appear to be decided so far. The other half are going into their third game as well. So, relatively tight competition across the first round throughout the tournament. Pawel has won the roll-off and has the opportunity to orient, though, as we just said, that doesn't guarantee you anything in this game.
Yeah, hopefully he's not persisting in some curse. We've got our judge here. We're going to So we just had Brian coming over doing some great judging work here. He's letting us know that there are, while there's 52 minutes left in this round, these players are going to be able to complete this. 52 is pretty ample. These guys have been playing at a good enough pace that it should be fine. And they'll be able to cut into the break. So we are going to bring you this match in its entirety.
12 are so more than half.
So a little update from the field from our judge also says the 23 matches going on, 12 have gone to a game 3. So about half the matches were decided 2-0, but half closer than that. So
Especially in this stage of the competition where pairings are random and we don't necessarily know the win path hasn't been determined, and so we don't necessarily have equal power level facing against each other for that many games to still need a third to decide them. Speaks well to how competitive the rest of the tournament will be as similar win paths face each other.
it's like Pawel decided to go for the 5s.
Well, it worked for him the first game, since you can't get more than one in neutral territory anyway.
Diego's kind of shown the ability to shut that down pretty authoritatively.
See if he's able to do that again this time. If that's a choice he wants to make.
You know, one issue with putting the board down that has the block taxes for Pawel is that it restricts the number of spots that the feature tokens can land on. However, once Dromm is inspired, then the entire enemy warband is at range 2. So even just having that extra help to kind of disrupt those range 2 attacks may be worth it to Pawel.
I think not only can he possibly hide from a range 2 attack here and there, but also considering he has the superior movement speed immediately, it's much more of a hindrance to the Gorechosen's charge lanes than it is to his capacity to get on tokens. So maybe that's the adjustment he's going to make to start this game. Coming off the last one is saying I gave him too many easy charges, and I'm going to throw a couple roadblocks in his way. See if that speed bump makes a difference for him.
I see Pawel, after some consideration, put what turned out to be treasure token 5 next to the stagger hex. Good choice for him with tunneling terror.
He can pop
Yep.
up right next to it and then grab that in the event that he needs it.
So Tristan, to your question, they are not playing with open deck lists. What has been determined is that they will reveal which decks they have brought to the matchup, as in the deck names, and that is it.
At this point, having seen the majority of both players' cards across 2 games, there's a reasonable assumption that players at this level have a good idea of what the other can do. So this game potentially will go faster as they have less guesswork and more confidence in their opponent's capacity to interrupt them. But no, the deck lists are not open and will not be open for the duration of the tournament. So other than Warband and the names of the decks, the opponents begin the game with no further information.
So I think once again, Spiteclaw is going to start out in a safe spot, at least from the gore hole,
Unless he has wings of war.
which we've seen.
Actually,
Even there,
even in this case, he's still safe. Learned that lesson the hard way.
yeah.
So I see Pawel has at least claimed the prize. But what other objectives is currently? He can delve in enemy territory or in friendly if he's the underdog. He can score 1 for a second. He's also holding slow advance. So he'll want to hold that token in the center. Not quite sure what that is.
Pawel won the roll-off. And I think determining whether he wants to first.
Decide whether he'd like to go first or second. He's going to allow Diego to open the game.
Yep. Good sportsmanship here. Pawel is pointing out to Diego that it doesn't matter who picks the first turn; it's the loser of the roll-off who gets the card, and so reminding Diego to take his extra card,
even though he gets the first move.
Yeah.
Also gets the extra card, and Pawel did a good show of sportsmanship. Prompted.
Hey, gore hole
Immediately
charge.
occupying a token. Diego is not about to let them pull any fast tricks on him again.
Yeah. Get your giant boot on their neck.
So he is going to go for
Looks like must be festering, and that's got to be because of.
Uninspired is one dodge, so the
Yeah.
easier target of the two.
And we have
Twist the knife, so he's going
Boy.
to use his higher probability attack, and will do 2 damage if he hits. That's a.
It's like he's gonna
success.
hit.
One of them is critical, so you cannot stop it. You cannot prevent. Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. It was the 3 damage attack, and it was determined effort for an
Ah.
additional die. Black and white card is making life hard, and that is critical effort. He succeeded a critical roll, so he scores a surge glory, and he gets a bounty, and he has 2 blood ties, and is in a very strong position. Diego contemplating his options in the power step. Does he spend that blood tithe and step on the throat, or is he going to wait?
I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure that he needs to. I think Gorechosen can pull off a double charge with Dromm, with the Vorhulk, but the only other target he doesn't really need to kill. I'd rather stay on that token, I would imagine. So I would say I would pass if I were him, unless he had a great card. Looks like that's what he's done. So we now have the move and a guard.
It was the
dagger.
paranoia, justified paranoia.
Justified paranoia to allow him to give himself a guard out of his action.
Trying to collect as
Now
many
he will
tokens as
delve it.
possible. He's moved guard and stagger.
Move guard and stagger, and now delve in with stagger, which you can do.
Yeah.
And that will score him claim the prize.
Nicely done.
Being the underdog means he could have done it in his own territory, but he chose not to.
And he, let's see, because he starts on, did he start on 1 or 2 dodge?
That fighter starts on 2 dodge.
So
now
he's
he
a
has 2
tough nut
defense
to
on
crack.
guard, which is pretty potent.
Yeah,
And in cover.
yeah. There's only one face of the die that is not a success on defense for him. And he's very far away from the fighter who throws a ton of dice, and that would be the Gorehole. So that's got to feel pretty good. Do we remember? That must be treasure token 5.
That is treasure token 5, yes.
Okay. We know that he's got hold 3/4.
He has one of the hold combos. He does not appear to have hold treasure token 5.
All right,
He may
Dromm.
want to flip it back later, but for now, he needed that surge glory. Critical. Maybe that one.
Hungary has a 50-50 to defend this.
Oh,
he
there it
gets
is.
All right.
That's a die. The drive back can happen. I imagine he's going to choose not to. But the Hungary Skaven somehow on that one shield continues to do good work.
I've seen that shield. It's just this little like triangle of wood. I'm impressed.
Well, apparently it can take a punch from Dromm, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, Hungering Skaven got to be squirting the musk of fear right now. It's about time to get out of touch.
Get on out of town for sure.
Yeah,
Dromm does have a range 2 attack, so
there he goes.
correct move is not to go for that center token, but to get all the way across the board.
I wouldn't breathe too easy if I was Hungering, because I think there's a good chance somebody enrages over his direction.
It may be the case.
Yeah.
For slow advance, we know Pawel wants to hold treasure token 4, but that is within Herax's charge range and Dromm's range 2. So it is not safe to occupy now.
And Rhinus, for folks who haven't seen it, slow advance, or I mean, they've seen it, but they don't recall. Is that an end phase
Advance
series?
is a card from the Emberstone Sentinels. It is an end phase objective. If your warband holds 1 objective or more in no man's and 1 objective or more in enemy's territory. And since there is only 1 in neutral territory, in order to score that card, Pawel must hold that center treasure token.
Eric's does not currently have. Oh. Ooh. I was gonna say Herrick's does not have the move to go covered up as a defensive play, which I'm not sure he wants to do anyway. But Currently uninspired means he couldn't get there even if he wanted to without some power card help. Looks like he made a pump fake over towards lurking Skaven.
Yeah, thought better about that. As we discussed, he has 5 of the 6 dice facings as successes,
Oh, here we go.
but he's going to try for it anyway. Possibly just to achieve the charged out state.
And he may have keep chopping. He may just be like, I gotta
Need
make
to
my
make an
great attack.
I don't need it to hit. Yeah, so 3 swords coming his way. That is
Two's pretty good.
2 successes. So 2 defense, but many
think
facings that will work. If
Probably
any of these
forgetting
are
he's got a reroll.
if any of these are a half moon, none of them are. So it can't be driven back because of guard. So he will stay right there.
Now he's remembering his reroll.
But he's staggered.
if we go back.
One. That
Oh.
makes 2 successes, which is the difference maker there. So he'll take 2 damage. Will not be slain. Will not be driven back, but is vulnerable. And we know that Diego has a card that requires a vulnerable to defend.
You know that. I forgot. The collective we knew that.
Diego is all smiles right now, so I would imagine he has that card in his hand.
Oh, healing potion.
Ooh, I did not see that coming.
I don't think we've seen the card play.
That hasn't been played all game.
Great denial play there. He's got to be remembering.
Yeah, he knows. Pablo, if I know it, Pablo. But he has the "You are vulnerable" card. So that is a Reckless Fury ploy. Let me find which one that is.
Yes.
Reckless Attitudes. Enemy fighters cannot use core abilities other than the charge ability in the next action step. Which means that for Pavel's move, at least for this round, he cannot do anything other than charge. So he could focus, but he cannot move, he cannot guard, he cannot attack unless it's part of a charge. Which means effectively Kirk or Scritch has to charge, or he has to take a focus. Or I suppose he could take the pass action.
Good.
You might as well just focus for 1 card draw.
Now, we don't know for sure what all Pavel's got in hand. Do you think you make that charge with Scritch over onto the
He could charge into the center, range 2 into Dromm. He's holding Weary Delver in his hand. Put Scritch on guard. Should he do that, then he can occupy the center token and put himself on guard, meaning he's likely to hold the center.
Now,
He's
this is
instead
interesting.
choosing to move Kirk over there for reasons somewhat beyond me, but I think he wanted to leave Scritch available to take the forward without being harmed.
and I agree, and I think there's also the opportunity here to actually get some bounty. I know he's not about to die, but if you're gonna pick anyone off, it's probably the 4 health one.
That is
Not with that roll.
failures, though. So
Silver lining, there's no more blood tithe added.
Blood Tithe, and he still has Scritch free to go elsewhere. Where Delver is placed. Oh, see, that's interesting. I don't know if he can. He chose a fighter. Fighter is not on a feature token. Let me read that. Oh, he doesn't have to be on a feature. My apologies.
There we go.
Pick a
Just
friendly
need-
fighter with any charge tokens, give him the card. Did that to give Kirk guard, but I think more importantly to inspire Kirk to 2 defense, meaning that he's a lot safer. And I think also he chose not to use Scritch, even though he had a charge available, because we know that the Gorehole could potentially charge, and he wanted to keep Scritch out of harm's way until after it was too late for anything to happen.
That makes sense. We've got Get It Done.
That is Get It Done, which removes a charge token from a fighter. It is a Reckless Fury card. So he is choosing.
Oh, taking it back.
Diego has changed his mind. He does not want to do that. But for those watching at home, Diego now can at will remove a charge token from one of these fighters, which may come in handy later. He's instead going to use Wings of War. No, he's not doing that either. Trying to find a way to manufacture a long bomb charge into scriptures, I guess.
Can see those are his only two ploys.
Battle Melon again correcting me. There is no such thing as a pass action in the second edition of this game. So yeah, and we saw that he chose to take a charge regardless, but he could have taken a focus without discarding any cards. So Pawel choosing to delve. Certain what the objective is there. Pillage and Plunder does have multiple delve-related cards, but I think so far the only one that we've seen is the delve in enemy territory, which he's already scored. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure what his line of play is here, but we'll find out soon enough. Right. Arax charged out is going to make another attempt. Finish off that Skaven. There is a crit and a
Ooh,
success.
wow.
With a reroll, which we
Yeah.
remember this time. Two
Three
crits and a success.
successes. Oh my goodness.
Pawel puffing his cheeks out in dismay. He knows there's nothing to do. Fighter has been healing potion, if you remember,
That's true.
but he will be vulnerable again, which means that there may be his card in Diego's hand that is pretty much unstoppable.
That is spectacular. The stagger really coming up big there.
Did.
Hey,
Despite all
Battle
this
Mallet.
despite all this action, the score is still 2-1.
Yeah, that's impressive. Battle Mallet. Take your mask off. Which one are you? Or are you all three combined into one gestalt?
So we have moved the vulnerable lurking Skaven under that center token.
Hmm.
And then delving back allows us to score slow advance. Having done so in a situation where it's too late for Pawel to do anything, unless he wants to spend a blood tithe to enrage and charge now, which I think is something that we're considering.
And if he does, he can do his Gorechosen
Yes.
Warhammer attack.
He's chosen to do it with Dromm instead, going for the not on guard, one defense die, not aiming for the kill, but just for a drive back, I believe, in order to disrupt the scoring plan. He does have hidden aid, so he also counts as flanked. So looking for 2 hammers or flanked with a reroll, 2 successes. So possibly a crit can prevent him from being driven back, but otherwise, Pawel is about to lose that token. Yeah, there it is. Unfortunate for him. It looks like Diego has put himself in a good spot to prevent a big end phase score. Wise use of the enrage ability. And he earned his blood type back for doing it.
We're looking through, seeing what end phases are up. I think. Oh yes, we're out of it. That was not an action there. That was a power step in rage. Can't quite hear what they're saying, but I think Pavel is shaking his head at how badly those staggers have affected. They
A bit
converted.
of frustration on his face here. And, I mean, unfortunately, the dice have seemed to turn against him at a pretty bad time because not only does it look like a pretty big end phase score for Diego, but Pavel, I believe, has been shut out in this end phase.
You have keep chopping and on the edge.
So that healing potion was the right play, but unfortunately, he ended up getting hit back. Great Fortitude has gone on Herax, so the avenue for bounty that way is pretty minimal. And it's worth noting that Herax only gives up one bounty anyway. So
Yeah.
really kind of minor to the overall game plan.
So none of the swarm have been resurrected at this point, so everybody's still worth whatever bounty's on their card. All of Pavel's glory has been used for an upgrade that I missed. It's 2. It's under
It
Kirk.
is, I believe it's Great Fortitude on Kirk.
Okay.
I believe that's what it is.
Now Pavel still has some big scores available to him. This is only a 2-point game. And the winner of this game will take the match.
It is only a 2-point differential so far, while Diego is in probably the better position. We've seen before that Pavel can pull a lot of glory out of his back pocket. And face if he gets lucky enough.
Oh, it's from his back pocket.
No,
Okay. I knew it came from.
I didn't actually see where he stood. Pulled it out of somewhere though. Swords beat hammers in our new mechanics, so Diego will have the choice.
All hail our
First.
new sword overlords.
You should have.
All right, what can we see from the hands here? Coming right at it. This is Gorechosen. Not inspired, but there's going to be 4 dice.
Oh, these ones. One of those die was a defense die.
Got it just.
4 dice with hammers.
Oh my
Remarkably,
goodness.
That was successful. And I don't believe Gorechosen has any upgrades this time. So he cannot get any rerolls or anything. Yeah, which means against the odds, failed to take out a vulnerable fighter.
As to the question of when the next match will start, we'll track that down here. They're kind of keeping a fluid situation on this end,
We
given
have-
the earlier.
Roughly 30 minutes left in this game. Some amount of time to allow for the next round of pairings and players to reset, take a bathroom break, etc. So I can't give any hard numbers, but I would imagine that sometime in the next 45 minutes will be the next round. It's a pretty good break there for Pawel to be able to survive on that Gorechosen charge.
Absolutely.
He still holds that crucial center token. I believe he scored slow advance, so he doesn't need to hold it as much. But it gives him an opportunity to get out of town, put a guard token on, do whatever he needs to do to score the cards in his hand. And crucially, has not given up another bounty. Won't give it up another one time.
And you know when the Gorechosen are running Blazing Assault, they're always keeping an eye on what dice they're rolling. So keep an eye out for
Are they
crit,
looking for
critical
Wretch or
effort.
Fate? For sure.
Currently, Herrick's is going to be his best bet to score that because he's attacking consistently on 3
Yeah.
dice.
He has determined effort in his deck, and I can't recall if it's been played yet or not. So he could turn a 2-hammer attack into a 3. Potentially score it through that avenue as well.
Appreciate the chat helping out. It does that is correct. Spiteclaw won the first round by 1 glory, with a spectacular 6 glory third round's end of phase score.
So we have Spiteclaw charging into cover through a stagger to make a flanked attack against Herrax, who has been given great fortitude. So more successes on the attack. Herrax will take 2 damage. He does not get crit Grievous because that was not a minion in this flank. But now Spiteclaw has found his way onto the feature token, and Herrax is no longer adjacent to it. So things are looking okay for him. Delving it back, staggering himself. Now we do remember how bad stagger was for him last time.
You can't be afraid to pick yourself back up off the ground and get staggered again.
If having that be a treasure token is the right thing to do for the hand he has, then he has to take that risk.
Yeah.
He's only down by 2, but he is down. So he may have to take some choices. Because the winner of this game is the winner of the match. So playing it safe may not be the right call.
Oh,
Herrax is trying to finish off that fighter on feature token 4. So 2 dodge, but he's flanked now. Herrax throwing 3 swords at range 2 for 1 damage. 3 swords and flanked coming into 2 dodge.
that's gonna go
Wow.
through.
Okay.
That's gonna be 2 more blood tide, leaving him 1 away from Inspire.
It's like Diego is really stepping on the gas, which it makes sense because we've seen what kind of end phase Pawel's capable of. I don't think he wants to give him enough cushion to catch up. And doing it with the range 2 in the way he did allows him to have 2 fighters in 1 territory with charge tokens. So unless we see some kind of resurrection or a move into friendly territory, Pawel will be handing him Arena Mortis.
Now, as we learned earlier, Scritch is actually going to be able to do that resurrect even with the charge.
Yes. So he has that capacity. I don't know if that's Pawel's choice, and it looks like it is. Knowing that Arena
Yeah.
Mortis is likely in the hand, based on where Diego chose to position, that was probably the smartest play he could make. Within 1 of a feature token, and unfortunately within a dangerous position still.
Yeah.
Because there is, and now he's giving him brute momentum. A fighter with charge tokens cannot be driven back, giving that to Scritch. So Scritch now can no longer be driven off that token and will be on treasure token 5 unless slain.
Now, depending, I don't know if there's a lot of gain in it, but if Diego feels like it, he could bring Dromm and Lurking Skaven together with a Call of Blood. Neither have overcharge.
The inspiration would be pretty blunted by that. So I guess the question is, does Diego think that
I don't think it's worth that. I think he can get where it needs to go.
Ooh, I guess the answer is no. He wants to occupy token 3, which I think is still a pretty smart play. Because we know Pawel wants that token. So he
And
will
then
make
getting
a
adjacent to
flank.
trigger hidden aid.
So that is 2 successes into 1 shield.
Uh,
So it's going to go through, but will there be a critical to reduce damage? It will not. 2 damage slays this Wandering Skaven. And inspiration across the board. And now he can use that call. So I guess it's too late for it. Since all his fighters now on charge tokens. Rough spot for Pawel to be in. Diego has done a pretty good job kind of coming back from the bad dice luck of the first game and the first half of the second game to not give up hope and keep rolling those dice.
I've been impressed at how they're clawing for every point here, including the denial play.
Yeah.
And we go back to that healing potion. We go back to this resurrect. They're really thinking about every little point
It seems
of
like
glory.
both players are very cognizant of what the other may be trying to do, which is, what you would expect out of role level. It is nice to see it on display. This game is not just roll better dice and win, but also you do need a counterplay, and these decks, despite being a little smoother than we're historically used to, do have counterplay, and we are seeing it leveraged quite effectively out of both players.
But we have a resurrect and a
Fusion,
confusion.
Resurrect, beautiful choice.
Getting the inspire.
So I think he still has. He's going to have a difficult time earning himself supremacy if he has it. I forget now if he doesn't score. I don't think he has. And he has the availability to score the rest of his cards.
I think supremacy is still available, but it's gonna require Kirk to get
He needs
involved.
Kirk to get on its own.
Yep.
Yeah, because Resurrected Fighters.
Now we've seen him.
He holds all tokens in enemy territory.
Yeah.
None of his fighters are adjacent. And one of those is treasure token 3, so he could score those cards. We're discussing inspiration upon being slain as removed. Both players keeping each other honest. I don't think anyone is attempting to cheat. Just clarifying with each other.
There's really a lot to kind of keep track of while everything's going on. These
Well,
guys
as
are
both
good.
players are learning the game and their warbands, there are a lot of opportunities for mistakes to be made, but I think it's been pretty clean so far.
More than halfway through our deciding match. We're looking at a score of 6-3, with Pawel having the big haymaker scores for end phases, but having given up a fair amount of bounty already. Although the only bounty remaining is going to come from Kirk and Scritch, who have, yeah,
Both full health, and I believe both have defensive upgrades. It's like Great Fortitude on Scritch and Agile on Kirk. Somewhat different.
I think we have an attack coming
An
from.
attack kind of drawn, that's my guess. That won't be enough.
Gonna go through. I don't know if we missed the card here. It looked like Dromm did more damage than we would have expected.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you play Twist the Knife that I didn't see?
Could have been. Although I think I'm seeing on the top of his discard pile is blinking before. So.
No, he's holding Twist the Knife in his hand.
Hmm.
Oh, I guess he didn't. I don't know. The Chilean fans coming through pretty hard in the chat right now. They see good things for Diego. The game is not over. We'll see how it all goes. Oh, you know what? That's a good point. Matthews in the chat has said that once inspired, Dromm has Grievous on his card.
Oh, he's inspired. I
And
missed that.
because of inspiration, Dromm actually does do 3 damage.
I think I
was able to do that.
missed that they were inspired. I thought they were still waiting on that.
I don't know,
He's
he
got it.
inspiration.
And that would explain why the 3 dice. I think we were just behind on it. Boldly delving even more. It's like Gorehole picking upgrade that is
Cannot be flanked or surrounded.
okay.
In case anybody wanted to try and do that to him. I think he has defensive upgrades and doesn't know what else to do with them. There's a couple times now he's given Great Fortitude or something else to a fighter who is not going to get attacked.
Okay, we're on the end phase here. We got 3 coming in from, and we've missed some of Diego's score. So I think we're keeping the differential there. It looks like we're staying at 9-6. Here we go, last round of the last game of the first match. Sounds like Pawel is a big name in the Polish scene.
Yeah, we've got a couple of hometown fans really propping him up right now. I think one of the best things about the World Tournament is that it is a world tournament. You think about this game as a UK and to some extent US kind of centric, a little bit of Canadian here and there, some France, but the game is played across the world. There are tournaments across the world sending people with their golden tickets to this event. We have multiple countries represented and people back home being able to watch on a stream like this. It's pretty cool to see because I know if I had sent one of my hometown friends off to Maldives or whatever for a game, and I can't, it'd be nice to be able to watch. So it's pretty cool that we get the opportunity for people to see, their training partners on a little stage.
Maybe some discussion about how exactly a particular ability works here.
I think the discussion is about Call of Blood and whether or not the fighter can be pulled towards a fighter who is already adjacent.
Right.
I know that in the old rule set, the answer was no. I'm not actually sure what the current situation is. It appears that the conclusion they've come to is that Call of Blood cannot move Lurking Skaven off of that token right now because it cannot be moved closer since he already is as close as he can get. So, good interpretation for Pawel's success chances here, but we'll see how it all shakes out. We have one last round to play, 3 glory difference between them in this final game of the match. Winner of this one takes the full match and moves to 1-0 in the tournament standings. Again, as we know, seeing as he does occupy those tokens, does have 3 fighters alive, 2 of them with bounty, Pawel has the chance to pull off a big end phase. If he can get his defense dice up, if he can deny, then there is the chance for a Spiteclaw with. I don't think either fighter is out of it right now.
Both players making sure they fully understand the cards and abilities across the table from them as they formulate their plan for the final round.
Yeah.
It is impressive from where I can sit. A couple of games that I can see. There's our own Skylar facing off against Canada's G. We got Val against Damien. Any one of those players I would be proud to lose to.
All 4 potential world champions.
I'm fairly confident I've lost to at least 3 or 4 of them.
I've never had the opportunity for G to beat me, but he would have. The other 3 have all beaten me, so some really strong talent here today.
We got just a clarification needed from a judge here. And given that we have one of the designers of the game right here with us,
kind of the best person to ask.
Yeah, John Bracken giving a quick response to this, helping Pawel know what his route forward must be.
John Barmore has been a U.S. Open TO before. Brian's been a World's TO last year. Number of judges here to make that call. So Pawel got whatever clarification he thought he needed. I think we're ready to take our actions in this third and final round. Diego is going to charge with the Gorehulk to open up. He's coming in at Kirk. Kirk has been given Agile, which is a defensive boost, but he is on 3 moves. So should the Gorehulk hit with his big punch, that will take Kirk off the board.
It's quite a cinematic size difference here in these fighters.
And that is a critical success.
Crucially, just the one. Oh, and there's 2 successes back. That's a big roll.
Huge possible swing for the outcome of the game based on that one die roll, which is
Yeah,
crushing when it doesn't go your way, but it is how you want a match to go, where
Yeah.
everything feels impactful. Each moment could be the one that wins or loses the game.
we'll see if Pawel has the sauce to really capitalize on that. Judge coming in to just check in with Pawel real quick, making sure he's got an answer that he's satisfied with to his questions.
Yes.
All right. Pawel needs the right answer here. How does he capitalize?
That is get it done to remove a charge token. Give it to someone else.
Gorehulk's going to go for it again. The charge token manipulation from Reckless Fury, really pretty impressive. Tristan, that's been answered in event FAQ. We can presume that it may go wider to the greater Underworlds audience, but yes, the three fighters you would presume to be minions are in fact minions.
Sitting at some distance from the competitors here, but I do think I see a bit of sweat on the foreheads of both of them. They both know that the next couple activations are going to determine who goes 1-0 and who goes 0-1. So it really is coming down to the wire here for both players.
And after this, they're going to do it all
They're
7
going to do
times.
a whole bunch more times.
Once again, we're getting to the end of the match, end of the game. The only ability left on the War Scroll for Gorechosen is their Final Frenzy.
which they will
Okay.
not be using unless I suppose you could give it to Herax if he did try to take him out. But my guess is that Pawel's goal here is to say keep away and attempt to score Supremacy, which I believe he still has the chance to score, and a couple other hold things, while playing some denial in order to close that gap. Because Supremacy is worth 3, so that alone will make it a tie game. The other edge you can get, I think he's going to try to take.
going to be tight. It's all still there to play.
All right, so Kirk getting out of danger, going into that center token with a move to make Arena Mortis a little more difficult, at least in neutral territory. So playing over 5's orientation, that's less. By the numbers, drawing 3 cards.
That's a big
He
pull.
has no drive back. I see he has a range, and I see he has a plus dice upgrade. Good
Those
draw.
eyes.
3.
Put some young eyes on you.
I'm 36, so they are on their way out the door, but they ain't gone yet. That is a Blazing Assault card. Give me the Dromm. Has the Crimson Court on it. Name of the upgrade that he just gave us. Quite how it works.
We've got a guard on Kirk. That's a big pickup for the middle. Cards are coming fast and furious here. Hold. Apologies to the stream. Looks like we missed a surge objective scored by Diego. Does look like it puts it at 10-6.
Both players very intense focus right now on their faces. I think they both see a path to victory, but they don't know it's in their grasp just yet.
All right, second activation for Gorechosen is going to be this 3 dice with a reroll, enough damage to kill.
2 successes.
So he's got hidden aid. He's once again forgetting his stagger reroll. We'll find out if he's going to remember that after the fact or if it's not necessary. Now this is a kill that doesn't get him any bounty because
That fighter has already been
Yeah.
slain, but it does take a fighter off a token, and he uses sidestep. Nope, branching fate is what he wanted, and that is why he did not use the stagger ring,
yeah,
because he wanted to ensure that he scored branching fate. And he does have duelist, so he's able to push onto the token. Huge play for Diego. Very, very good outcome for him. 1 Surge Glory as well as taking that token away.
it was a good selection too. I wonder if pulling the charge off of the Gorehulk was a little bit of like a distraction. You know, like, hey, look over here.
Why don't you run away from me? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Options running out for Pawel. He does still have his 4 glory
He's
worth of bounty on the table.
down by 5, and I see a path for him to score possibly 4. I don't know what else he has in hand, but he's going to need a surge or 2 if he wants to catch up. And that's assuming that Diego scores nothing again.
Diego putting utter ignorance out to just make absolute sure
Sure,
Eric's not going to die.
Not die, yeah. You got the glory, you might as well spend it.
Alvaro wearing in the chat. It must be a coincidence on the name.
Could have been anyone. All right. Gorechosen has charge, so may not have been a distraction after all. Kirk on 2 defense on guard, not staggered.
A rare unstaggered rat here.
And Gorechosen needing to kill him, so he's going to roll his 3 damage attack.
Yeah.
The defensive upgrades are for dice, not health, so Kirk will die if he is hit by this. Oh, and twist the knife, meaning even stand fast
Wait.
won't save him. That is a critical
roll.
and a hammer, and a bad day to be Kirk. So he has 2 dice. He could get a crit and a defensive success.
Doesn't even need the
And he
Oh.
did not, unfortunately. So He does not stand fast. His reroll did not save him. That is the end of Kirk's night. And
That may be the
probably the end of Pawel's
yeah.
hopes with this match.
He wasn't actually there. He was just like making fun of us.
Pawel, a valiant effort, but it
Yeah.
looks like it is
I think
accelerating.
he's kind of sees the writing on the wall as well. There's not much left he can do. Yeah, kind of throws his hand up in the air, resurrects in order to block Arena Mortis just to cut down on the differential. But I'm not sure he's clawing back any chance of victory. Just to lose by less today.
One thing that, regardless of how anything finishes here, Pawel can hold his head high because anything you can pick up for your nation is
Yeah, he did get a game win for Poland. He did get some glory differential from Poland. And he took a game off of the Gorechosen of Dromm,
Yep.
piloted by a very skilled player, which
Yeah.
I can't say I could do.
And then Tristan does raise a good point in the chat here is that as the only Spiteclaw player, maybe it's schemes within plans within schemes, and Pawel will have a chance to fight his way into the top brackets once they
Yeah.
overlooked him.
This may have had a different outcome against a different opponent. We don't know what Spiteclaw can do with any other team in this race. You just got to get top 4 in your pool to advance, so it is
Yep.
not over for him. Dromm here having rolled 2 successes and a crit.
Wow.
So
For folks
Man.
watching, we are asking that if players have dice drop out of the tray, that
they have
they
to reroll
re-roll
it.
just
Fortunately,
because
in this case, a hammer was rolled into a hammer, so it didn't matter. But on the stream table, we would like all dice in the tray on camera. So graciously being able to reroll it that success. As we set out at the beginning.
Hey, Jules, End of Empires, first game watching of Underworlds. Welcome. I hope you enjoy. There's going to be a whole lot more all weekend. Come on back.
Yeah, the stream will be up for the rest of today and huge parts of the next 3 days. So anytime you want to come by the little runs, you can watch. We'll be having live commentary. And then to answer Tristan's point, in this opening set, we'll be doing some interesting matchups. We'll be attempting to showcase different nations, different players who may be more or less famous, people who have interesting deck combinations. And then as we head into the top cut in the last 2 days, we'll be focusing on higher ranked tables who haven't been showcased yet. And in the finals, we'll be showing the top tables. It is a little bit in flux. We do not know what the pairings are for the next round, so we do not know who we'll be picking. But it is, as far as we're aware, at our discretion to choose as the stream hosts. If you have
They
any
can.
recommendations, send them our way.
They can try to tell us what to do, but we're Mavericks. We play by our own rules.
Good guys. Yeah.
And there's a handshake. I think they've decided to cash it in.
Oh, that's good content, right?
All right. So it appears we've reached the end. They have agreed to think Pawel is putting the scores on PCP now. Just counting back to make sure they have the right number count. But incredible game played out of both players. I've got nothing but respect for both these guys. I think this game was well handled, pretty much across all 9 rounds.
Yeah. Nothing more to say on that than valiantly fought. We're gonna go in the hunt for. We're gonna go in the hunt for another matchup. See what we can get you. We're gonna have to take a break ourselves just so we can recover and sit through many more hours of Underworlds for you. These old bones don't move too quick.
It's been fun though. So
It was great.
anyway,
Really, everything we could have hoped for there.
so thanks for watching. Anyone who stuck around, don't go too far. We will have another game coming to you sometime in the next half hour to an hour. And we will do our best to make it entertaining. Though with the skill levels of the players on display here, I don't know how much more we have to do because this is top tier stuff.
Yeah. Just seeing a comment here. Eva's Underworlds. Where possible, we'll get some interviews in. We'd love to be able to do it. In this case, my Spanish and Diego's English might not get us to where we need to go. And then, of course, both competitors need a chance to be able to get food, water, rest, recover.
You
all
got
that sort
another
of
round to
thing.
do.
Yeah.
If you're interested in interview content, earlier today we did do a handful of interviews with some players before the first round. That should be posted on the Mortal Realms YouTube page if you'd like to see it there. And we will, as we're able, fit in some more interviews throughout the event. So look forward to that because I know there's a lot of people who would love to give a shout out to their loved ones back home, who supported them, helped train them for this event, and especially from nations far away. Had to go through a lot to get here. So we want to make sure that they have a chance to shine on these big stages.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. It's been Fish Mode, Spiteclaw Underground.
Have a day.
X. We'll see you on the next episode.
Yep.